boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Look at that.
That's pretty fancy.
I mean, as official as it can get. I'm so excited to dig through this thing. I got like 56 schools I got to see just off their list. I ain't even including all the other lists that we got from maybe the competition, if you so will. Ooh. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. These are not my show notes. These are even more important than the show notes. That's the recruiting board. Here we go. Last show, best show. An absolutely loaded one for you, as per usual. Lee Corso retiring, unfortunately. Fran Brown is the people's coach. That's what we're calling Fran Brown from now on. The people's coach. Previewing spring games this weekend, Nico Iamaleava nailed it first try. Finally finds a home out there at UCLA. We'll talk about that tonight. Miami. I think at this point, boys, Miami's going to be hosting the tree outs for the wide receivers with the latest news out of the transfer portal down there in South Beach and much, much more. But I want to open tonight's show with a little topic I'm calling proper intentions versus proper execution of those intentions. It's no secret in the world of college football nowadays. I think we got plenty of problems. All right, we got plenty of problems that everyone's trying to at least address or get fixed. One of those problems that's been addressed as of lately has been fake injuries. For those of you who don't know, I don't know where you've been, but a lot of offenses in college football playing with a lot of pace nowadays. And what defensive coaching staffs and defensive personnel have realized, hey, if we go down and get the medical team out here, we'll at least get a stoppage in play. Maybe we'll get a TV timeout, thus slowing the game down, slowing the pace of play down, and allowing our defense to catch their breaths and whatnot, right? So what did the NCAA do today? They implemented a new rule that we're calling around here, quote, the fake injuries rule. You got a better name for this?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Fake injuries rule. Quote, under the new rule, if medical personnel enter field to evaluate an injured player after the ball is spotted by officiating crew for the next play, that player's team will be charged a timeout. If team does not have any timeouts remaining, a 5-yard delay of game penalty will be assessed. Look, I like the intentions of this rule. However, I don't think this is going to actually execute what they're trying to get done. They're trying to get these quote-unquote fake injuries out of the sport, but I want to point to some key words in the wording of this rule. Quote, if medical personnel enter field to evaluate an injured player after the ball is spotted by officiating crew for the next play, that player's team will be charged a timeout. I'm going to tell you right now what's going to be happening. If I were a defensive coordinator around the world of college football, we'd have a meeting tomorrow. We would implement a rule called the explosive play rule, okay? Or the explosive play, whatever you want to call it, right? Dynamite, right? We'd have a word for it, dynamite, okay? Anytime an explosive play happens, we would implement the system. And here's the system. What people don't realize, and you guys know this, our audience knows this because you're educated. You're certified ball knowers, okay? You understand this. These fake injuries don't happen on 1st and 10 after a 4-yard run. These fake injuries happen when these fast-paced offenses get an explosive. Because what happens after an explosive in college football? We're running NASCAR. If you've been watching John Gruden's series lately, he calls this Freddy. We're going to get right back on the ball. We're going to attack you again, aggressively get down the field again because we've already gotten an explosive. Now your defense is trying to get set. That's when these fake injuries, at most of the time, that's when these things occur. It's a gamesmanship thing. And like I said, if I were a defensive coordinator, all I got to do now is beat the referee on spotting the ball, right? All I got to do is get a player down before the referee actually spots the ball. So here's the dynamite rule, right? As a defensive coordinator, under this rule, the moment an explosive play happens, we're going to have a designated defensive tackle of the week, who, by the way, is already told to retrace when the ball is thrown. Once you pass rush, the ball is thrown, you're taught to turn your head around and go pursue the football. If you see the ball caught 30, 40 yards downfield, it is an explosive. Ow. My hamstring hurts. Down immediately. Our medical staff, when the defensive team is on the ball, you are to be at the sticks. When this happens, you're on the field before the ball is stopped. We ain't got to worry about this no more. All I got to do is be more efficient on how I'm cheating. That's it.
Yeah.
It would have been much, much simpler had they actually, stolen the Brooks Austin rule off of my Twitter account that we tweeted out in September. Guys, this is plain and simple. If you're hurt and you can't get off the field, then you should be out the whole series, right? All right. If you bang up a shoulder and you're good enough to run to the sideline, then we'll get your sub in. That's all good. You can come back in, whatever it is. But if you're legitimately hurt and you're on the field, you should be evaluated for the series anyways. And if you're not legitimately hurt, you shouldn't be on the ground. I just don't understand this. And then they missed the bar at least. I like the intention.
I honestly had to read the rule again because when I initially read it, I was like, did this actually change anything? It almost felt like it was just the same rule that they had been doing. And then, so I agree with you. I really don't think this is going to change much other than the way that they are going to go about it.
Look, Lane Kiffin's the one who gets the backlash for this. Everybody points to him because he did the classic Lane Kiffin jackassery of it. He made a mockery of it. Teams were doing it to his offense. Teams were faking injuries, laying down. So you know what he did? He said, screw it. We're going to do it on offense and defense this next week against Arkansas. We're going to make it so ugly. We're going to drop the back on a first down play for us. We're just going to have the back fall down in the middle of television. That's all this rule is going to remove, by the way. All this rule is going to remove is the dead obvious fake injury. We saw last year, Kirby, you pointed out in the show. Tell us what you noticed against Florida last year.
Dude, so literally without fail, 3 or 4 times, if Georgia had a play of 15 plus yards, whoever tackled said Georgia player on the Florida defense immediately was down with a shoulder injury, or like to the point where it's like, really, is Georgia that tough, or is Florida, every player that touches a Georgia player on explosive plays, by the way, they're getting injured? It seemed a little fishy to me.
These weren't like physical contact plays in the box. These weren't like safeties running downhill, man. These were like dudes basically like tagging off on the sideline at the back end of plays. And it just so coincided with like having been 2 weeks after the SEC sent out the memorandum like, hey, if y'all get caught faking injuries, we're going to fine you $100K.
Yeah, and not just that, like they would, like you said, make a tackle on the sideline, limp onto the field, and then go, I can't go anymore. I got to lay down. Like it was almost blatant to the point of like they're just doing this on purpose. And I think that's one of the areas where this rule failed is the entire reason we have these rules and penalties is to provide less of an incentive to do the actions. It's why the targeting rule was if you leave the crown of your helmet, you're ejected for a game. There's not enough incentive to stop coaches from doing this. The entire reason that fake injuries are a thing is to stop the momentum of the offense. If you add 5 yards onto that, so what? If it costs you a timeout, yeah, that's a little more hurtful, but it's still not enough, in my opinion, to stop coaches from wanting to do this. Like we said, if you have to sit out the rest of a drive, that's enough incentive, I think. Now, I don't think it's going to solve it all the way because then they can go, we've got our dummy guy that, the most expendable player on our starting 11 defense can come out.
That to me is way harder to implement.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Than what I truly believe this is getting. There's going to be a system in place.
Oh, absolutely.
When you retrace and we see the ball caught, just go down.
Yeah.
If you're a defensive lineman.
No, I mean, and the reality of it is you're never going to stop this 1,000%. You're not going to stop holding, targeting, like all the penalties that you have rules in place to stop from happening. You're not going to stop it from happening. But I think the rule that was set in place doesn't do it enough to say to give less of an incentive to do it. I think it's just you have to find a new way to work around it.
I do think it is funny that we've had rule changes in college football. For example, targeting, which is the most egregious and the most harmful penalty that you can get in college football. So much so that you get ejected out of a football game for it. Could be suspended for the very next game, despite the fact that professionals are not even ejected out of football games for committing the same penalty. Well, and then you have other changes, like the overtime rule, that just go outside of the imagination of what nobody asked for. But this one that it seems like everybody can collectively agree on, one that people are screaming from the mountaintops, please change this, please fix this. There's no immediate force to change it.
Am I the only person in college football media pro the overtime rules? I love college football overtime rules now, the way they are. I hated how they were previously, where it's like put the ball at the 25, because by the fourth overtime, we're basically just saying, hey, who can make a 35-yard field goal after these three offensive plays where nothing happens, right? That's what it turned into me. At least in the 2-point conversion system, it's the 22 most important guys on the field, not some converted soccer player who gets to call himself a football player.
That was not a slight at the overtime rules. It was more so a point of they changed the overtime rules.
Every time I get the opportunity to take a slight at those people who call themselves football players, I choose to do so on this network. So, sorry.
I like the overtime rules because they were put in place to shorten games, and we just had one of the longest games in college football history last season.
Yeah.
So. And plus, like the 2-point conversion rule, like you've got teams running end arounds and Philly specials to try to win a game. Like that's not quote unquote the football that you play for the remaining 60 minutes of a normal game.
But you've been on football teams for a decade or so. Goal line period is something that we practice, and it's competitive.
Very, very much so.
And it is something that a lot of teams use as the final thing at the end of the day.
Very true.
Put the ball at the 2. Let's see who's the best. That's how we do competitive periods all the time in the world of football. We don't line up the 2 place kickers and say, who's going to win today?
Let's also be fair. Like that's not what it always relies down to. It usually comes down to them missing it because that's usually when the game ends. But I mean, you have to drive 25 yards to score a touchdown. I feel like is more of a representation of football, because it does also include a goal line stand should there be one necessary.
Really? Yeah, I'm with you.
That's a tangent. So.
I do think I like that they're trying to stop the fake injuries, and maybe this does inhibit it, at least from the ones that you're going to notice. The ones at home where you're on social media and you're tweeting out the video of the defensive tackle just randomly dropping on the ground. Yeah. That's no more in college football.
I don't think you're going to.
I do think this removes that.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get the go down, and then a guy passing out on.
Like I say, you just have to be better about your cheating.
Exactly.
And I don't think it's cheating. I think it's gamesmanship.
It's gamesmanship.
This to me is no different than the guy at second base picking the signs of the catcher. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's gamesmanship. It's hey, there's a leeway in the rule. It's not as egregious to me as flopping in soccer or in basketball. That's gross. That's a stretch of the game. You're trying to manipulate the games, Bush League, all that stuff. But this is trying to find the smallest margin of advantage.
Would you say going to opposing teams' games and taking pictures of their signs and using those?
That's a little Bush League.
It's not gamesmanship?
Nah, that's Bush League. That's cheating. That's advanced scouting. Beyond the film. Find your niches in the film, man. Find your advantages on the tape. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Find it on the recruiting trail where we're all cheating.
Is it not? Is that not tape when you go to the games and record them? But
hey, welcome into tonight's absolutely jam-packed, loaded show. The homie Lee Corso stepping down, retiring after the first episode of this year's college football, college game day episode, rather. Fran Brown, as we are calling him, the people's coach. We'll tell you why tonight. We're going to preview some spring games tonight as well. Miami might be out here hosting the wide receiver tree outs based off what their depth chart had happened to it today. But I want to start tonight's show by asking you to hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rate, review. And guys, the ball is rolling the last couple of days on this network. I know there's been a massive news item in the world of college football that everybody wants opinions on, that being the Nico story that we're going to talk about tonight. But I want to keep that ball rolling. So make sure you're subscribing to the network tonight. If you want any of these fine t-shirts you see on tonight's broadcast, me and Jonathan rocking them tonight. We got a I Want to Be Different guy on the stage tonight, just because he was too busy before the show, I would imagine. Is that what happened? Just slipped the mind?
Putting out an article.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Too busy. I ain't cracking on you. Man was grinding. But anyways, if you want those, the link to the merchandise store is in the description of tonight's video. Let's get after it, boys. Nico finally found a home. Nico Iamaleava going to be a UCLA Bruin this next season, and we got no true reporting on the actual number. I know that's what everyone really wants to know about based off the Google searches. How much of a pay cut did my man take? A pretty sizable haircut considering location. Going to be in the state of California, paying local state taxes that are relatively high. Got to pay the IRS as well, on top of the fact that the intel that I have on this deal, somewhere around that $1.5 million range. But was making $2.5 million at Tennessee. Sounds like he took a pretty sizable pay cut.
I saw from ESPN, they said that it was nowhere near the $4 million mark. And I think it's interesting, too, that it's not officially official that he is going to UCLA, but it is somewhat official. I mean, guy was moving out of his house, so he's certainly headed somewhere. Which is crazy that someone's standing outside of his house filming that. That's the thing.
Like, no duh, it's not anywhere close to the $4 million range. Like, where were the suitors? Yeah, they had nowhere to go. It was UCLA or bust is what it seemed like. Tulane said no. UNC said no. Ohio State, Notre Dame, all of them said no.
Oh, but Brooks, it's not about the money.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about money, Brooks.
It's not about the money.
Everybody's telling you a lie that this is about $4 million.
That's right.
This is about a player that did not like the offense.
That's right.
Did not fit in that situation.
That's right. Didn't like the offense. That's the other major talking point about this, right? And I think this is unfortunate for Nico because he's going to get used as the example. Everybody's going to point to and say, hey, you don't want to be the next Nico Iamaleava situation. And what Jonathan is alluding to is what we saw today, which is the last-ditched effort of narrative steering from this camp, which of all people, the mouthpiece chosen to be used was Colin Cowherd. Now, the reason being, Colin Cowherd is the largest sports voice on radio still living in LA. Okay, so he's on radio stations out in LA. He's the voice of LA sports talk radio for the most part out there on the regional network. So it makes sense why they chose Colin Cowherd. But the comments that came out of this, as Jonathan alluded to, they basically said this had nothing to do with money. This was everything to do with not liking the Tennessee offense. And obviously there's a million holes you could point in that lie. If you didn't like the offense, why'd you commit to that place in the first place? Obvious answer, money. Okay, but you're not leaving because of money, but you went because of money. Interesting. Obviously, if you didn't like the offense, why didn't you leave after the first season? If you didn't like the offense, why'd we wait 14 spring practices to leave? Okay, I didn't like the offense excuse and lie. We got to find a better lie. I want to come closer to home. I was homesick. We might swallow that one up a hook, line, and sinker a little bit faster than it ain't about the money. I hated the offense.
Could you imagine Nico walking into Heupel's offense and being like, Coach, listen, man, this offense is not doing it for me. I think I'm going to walk away from $1.5 million so I can see my other options elsewhere because I just really need to play in a system that suits me as a player.
Plus, we're acting like Nico's going to be the first player in history to sit out of practice because he doesn't like the offense. You're skipping out on practice because of something that you've been practicing the last 5 weeks. Oh, now we're going to sit out the last one because we don't like the offense.
It's also very rich to imagine him going in and being like, I don't like this offense, but for $4 million, I'll stay around.
The entire PR plan right now for Nico's camp is they out here lying on us. Everybody else lying on us. All those other people you talking to, they lying. All those people at Tennessee that told you we wanted $4 million, they full of shit. Tulane, the ones that said we were out here, having disagreements with the staff about a price, they full of shit too. We went to UCLA because we didn't like the offense at Tennessee, right? We didn't like the offense at Tennessee, but we really, really like what first-year play caller Tino Sunseri's got for us out there at UCLA. That's what we really like. This wasn't shit to do about nothing but money. Everybody else out here lying on us.
And I think the worst.
hold on.
Go ahead.
Who's calling plays?
My man Tino Sunseri.
Yeah.
You know how I know Tino Sunseri?
Please tell me.
Tino Sunseri's the guy who gets credit for getting Julian Lewis to actually take a visit to Indiana. He was the quarterback's coach at Indiana last year, got the offensive coordinating job this year out there at UCLA. First time ever calling plays.
Oh, lovely.
Now the explanation.
Now, look, this ain't, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because I know this is going to get people like, oh, he making fun of Sunseri. I'm fond of him. I've met him on the recruiting show. Good guy. Great guy. But don't tell me it's about the system while you going to sign with a guy who's just about to get his first time ever calling plays. Go ahead.
I would say the explanation behind why this is such a PR nightmare is because, like basically everything else in the story, it's been dropped on their lap. Like Nico Iamaleava's camp was not expecting to have this blow up in their face to where you basically get blackballed by the entire league. Like they very clearly were not expecting college football to go like, oh, all right, have fun seeing who'll pay you that much, buddy. Good luck, because we're not doing it and they're not doing it. No one else is going to do it. And now the entire world thinks you're a tool that is only in it for the money. Like they were not expecting this at all, which has led to the kind of it was the offense and we wanted this, and it wasn't about the money. Like they're clearly scrambling.
I sure hope that Indiana guy was helping call plays last year, because that sounded too great.
Oh, buddy, with the way that my man Kirk, the Sigman Signetti, talks, you think he ain't out here calling his own plays? Come on, dog.
Do you think
the QB coach definitely wasn't calling them? You know what I mean?
Do you think this will bring the Rose Bowl's capacity up to like 50% this season?
I was thinking maybe like a good number can we get 20,000 people in here?
Dude, can you imagine?
Get to 20,000?
Can you imagine going from making roughly $2 million playing in front of 100,000 rowdy fans in Knoxville, Tennessee, to taking a gamble like, I'm betting on myself. Next thing you know, you're playing in front of 25,000 people in Pasadena, California. And by the way, a beautiful stadium, but the Bruins ain't out here, supporting the fans like they have been of years past.
I never thought I'd be here, but I'm kind of feeling sympathy for UCLA fans right now. Just thinking of their history with quarterbacks as of late. Like, first off, you get Josh Rosen, high profile recruit, looks like he's going to be a banger in college football. No, that didn't really turn out. It did somewhat, because he was a high pick in the NFL draft. And then you get Dante Moore. He's off at Oregon. He's about to do bigger and better things. And now you're about to get another 5-star quarterback. And it's this one that the whole world of college football is against.
My man went from making $2.5 million at Tennessee, which I just did the math. That's almost $1,000 per completion yard last year. He $2.5 million. He threw for 2,600 yards. That's $960 per passing yard. All right, he's going from that to, can we get to 6-6?
Yeah. There's no state income tax in Tennessee, is there?
Huh?
There's no income tax in Tennessee, is there?
In the state, I'm pretty sure they have state income tax. I thought Texas, Florida were the only two states I could be wrong here. They don't have state income tax.
Codes.
They're at least the most famous ones that don't have state income tax. Tennessee might be one of these.
Well, I can tell you, they definitely have them in California.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they do.
And you think the cost of living in Knoxville, not quite as bad as LA.
I was just amazed by the amount of people that thought he was going to go get a bag. Like this was some smart, stop pocket watching the kid. He's going to get a raise. Like, in what market? First of all, nobody has money. Nobody has starting caliber quarterback money right now. It's all spent.
My guess is that this is Nico's camp. Heard the inklings of Carson Beck just got $4 million from Miami, a guy who blew out his UCL, and Nico and his representation very quickly said, "We're better than Carson Beck. Let's go get our bag. Hey, Heupel, I'm holding out."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm at UCLA now. 900,000.
The agent is a 7-on-7 coach. That was his previous employment. Now he's an NIL agent. I'm sure he doesn't get, walked around in negotiations.
Sounds like the resume of Bill Belichick's girlfriend.
Ooh. I wish that was a transition. Honestly, I wish we had a North Carolina topic just banged up right on the back end of that. But I do want to talk about this. Tennessee's options are pretty dwindling right now at the portal position at quarterback. Obviously, I mean, they have 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster right now. I don't even know if there's a walk-on behind them. I didn't watch close enough. Who had Tennessee? I had Tennessee spring game. I didn't watch the clips. I texted sources about it. I know they have 2 Scally guys on the roster right now. One of them is the Jake Merklinger kid from Calvary Day. He's a redshirt freshman. The other one is George McIntyre, who's a true freshman. So nonetheless, they're going to have to go get a body. I would imagine they're trying to get a starter. So here's what my inclinations of what's going on in Tennessee right now. They trying to tamper their ass off because they have starter money sitting in the wing right now to go get somebody to leave their program. However, seems like most of the starters have said, nah, I'm good. I'm pretty sure Sam Levitt got a raise. Rocco Beck doesn't look like he's going to say, all right, I'll jump in the portal from Iowa State. Avery Johnson doesn't look like he's going in as of right now. The guy who did hop into the portal today that seems like if there are no other options that they're going to be able to convince to get into the portal, it's the Steve Angeli kid from Notre Dame that at bare minimum is an older arm that we can add to the room if you're Tennessee.
He came in the Cotton Bowl against Penn State, didn't he?
He did, and led a 2-minute drive right before the half with Riley Leonard banged up. Looked pretty good, too.
Yeah, I remember watching that live. Here.
But not good enough to outright beat C.J. Carr in a position battle this spring. Concerning.
Kind of like how Austin Simmons looked really good against Georgia for a drive, yet here Ole Miss is getting a quarterback out of the transfer portal.
Yeah. I don't know what Tennessee does, but I can guarantee you right now they're going to add a body.
Here's an idea. How about you go call up Georgia Tech and go snag their backup quarterback?
Oh, yeah. See, Tennessee fans got this backwards. Tennessee fans think they should go get Haynes King. No, sir. You need to go sign Aaron Philo. That's what you need to do. Aaron Philo is a dude, all right? It can actually throw the foot. I like Haynes King a lot. Aaron Philo's got a chance to be an NFL football player, in my opinion, from a quarterback standpoint. Haynes King's a great college quarterback. He can run the football. He can be the main course, if you will, in your run game design. But he ain't this polished thrower of the ball, particularly outside the numbers, which is all Tennessee does. If you notice about Tennessee's recruiting strategies at the quarterback position, big, tall, long, fast, huge arm. That's their bio. That's what they want. They want 6'4" plus. They want 200 pounds plus. They want can throw 70 yards downfield with accuracy plus. That's what they want.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens and you don't get the guy that you're looking for, well, Heupel, I mean, you'd have to assume that he's going to have to adapt the offensive system this year.
I thought he did a good enough job adapting it last year.
Exactly.
The other thing they got going on up there that's a major problem right now is wide receiver depth. They to the point where I watched the interview. Hype even joked with the media, you guys want to come try out? Never a good thing to be saying in the middle of the spring. You guys want to come give it a run? Like, it's that thin. They're relying on 2 freshmen. I think Darius Jackson and Travis Smith Jr. are going to have to play major burn for them this year. Obviously, we're really relying on the progression of Mike Matthews up there as well. But that's an interesting place or an interesting spot to be in as a roster where you have $2.5 million available right now because your quarterback just walked out the door, but nobody to really give it to. I guess you shore up Mike Matthews, you shore up Boo Carter, you shore up Anthony Josephs, guys that you can't have leave you anytime soon. It's just interesting. Guys, Lee Corso retired today.
Well, not officially.
Well, not officially, but it's
set
officially
to retire.
The end of the run, which I think the best way to do this segment is to just talk about our favorite moments from Lee Corso on College Game Day, which there are a plethora to choose from. I think the most famous, and I'm quoting here, so don't cancel me, when Lee Corso told the little Notre Dame fan, "Not so fast, midget," and then the whole stage started to laugh, and Kirk's got his hand in his head. And the funniest part about the clip is everybody on the stage obviously noticed he just said something he ain't supposed to, and Lee looks around and he's like, "What? What did I do?"
Yeah, that is.
Not so fast, midget.
That was
Go Bulldogs.
That was one of the rare, like, hey, let's go to a Yale versus Harvard game moments. And just Lee Corso's like, all right, I'm going to let this rip. I mean, it makes me sad because Lee Corso, I think, is one of the main examples of what made college football different from the NFL and, the quote-unquote corporate world of sports. And to see him, obviously, I think we can all agree it was probably the right time for him to hang it up.
Yeah.
But to know that career is coming to an end makes me very sad. I think one of my favorite moments is, it's not as well documented. It's not as well known. There's obviously the F it one where he throws the megaphone off stage, but he also let one rip on air in like 2017 or 2018. I can't remember what year it was, but UCF and Cincinnati were playing, and the panel was having a very heated discussion. And you know how Lee Corso at this point in his career was kind of phasing out. He wasn't a mainstay the entire time. And he's kind of just sitting there watching all these guys. It was like a serious debate. And Lee Corso just looks around and goes, "Hey, these people don't give a shit." In the crowd,
These
he
people don't give a shit. That was on my list as well. These people do not give a shit. They were having a debate about the 2017 UCF national title and whether it mattered. That's what they were talking about.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why Lee said, guys, these people behind you do not give a shit about your opinion of their national title that they claim. That's not how this is working. And the people went nuts. What do you got, J-Will?
Anytime he shot a gun. I mean, this falls under the entire umbrella, whether it was Oklahoma or any cowboy mascot. Anytime he fired a gun, it was electric.
The Oklahoma gunshot clip is hysterical because I don't know. I guess they didn't tell Kirk that it was loaded.
No,
I don't think they told him that it had shells in it. And obviously, there aren't real bullets. It's a what do you call it?
A blank.
A blank. It's just one that makes a sound. But they did not tell the people on the desk that the shit was loaded. So he shoots the first one, and you can see him kind of like. He takes the kick of the gun back, and then he grabs another one, and Kirk's like walking right next to the barrel of the gun, and he shoots it off again, and the recoil of the gun goes back off Corso so bad that the Oklahoma hat that he has on falls off the top of his head. And you can hear somebody go, "Oh shit!" as he shoots the second one off. You can't make it up, man. He was classic.
He's one of the best personalities. I think that as much as it pains me to represent the Uga saga he had.
That dog is ugly.
Terrible. That actually made me cry in 2007.
What?
Yeah, dude. I was
soft.
Uga getting clapped on made you cry?
He didn't do that to Uga, but... But no, him disrespecting Uga like that, and then Alabama beating the shit out of Georgia, like 41-30 was the final score. That was a blackout. Like, that was a rough weekend in the
You were blacking out at 8?
Hey,
no, it was the blackout versus Alabama.
How about when he did the walk with Uga and he stepped in his poop and he said
he just pooped on my shoe.
He just pooped on my shoe.
He shit on my foot.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That was
a shit on my foot.
That was a COVID special. You remember in 2020 when it was like, we're not going to bring Lee in because obviously he's an at-risk person, so he would like just do shit in his pool house. And he had like cardboard cutouts and things.
They sent the duck out there to the pool that one time.
It's like, what the hell?
Gosh.
All the scenes of all the cut-ups of him and the duck. I feel like the duck got him the best.
Oh, the one with him on the motorcycle, the back of the motorcycle, where they're like, "Where's Lee?" And he's just on the back of a motorcycle with the orchid duck head on. It's like, yes.
I think the most perfect example of like what Lee Corso was actually this past season when they did the it was his 400th pick. It was Colorado State versus Colorado. They did a really big tribute to him. It was like a minute long, and at the end, it's just like they panned to him after the clip, and it's just him crying.
Yeah.
And it's like he's very emotional from it. And, everyone's talking about how thank you so much for what you've done for this sport. And I think Reese Daves is like, and so the road to 500 begins. And Lee Corso looks over and is like, I'll never make it. That's like the epitome of what Lee Corso was. Like, had passion for the sport, loved his job that he did, cared about the people he worked with, but also like was never too out of it to give a quick a quip to make everyone laugh.
And like would laugh at himself and was okay with everyone else laughing.
Yeah, did not mind being the butt of the joke.
This will never happen because his representation makes way too many smart decisions. He himself as a business operator makes way too many smart decisions. But people are just dying to hate Pat McAfee. If they make him put headgear on, it'll be the end of him.
Oh,
it'll be the end of him in college. You cannot make him do that, ESPN. I don't think they will. Like I said, I think Pat's way too smart. Pat's way too self-aware. He knows that will be a bad move. But if they try to continue this, whoever it is, it's 10 times worse than replacing Saban or any type of metaphor like that. You got to retire this with him. There's none of this.
Do you think they'd have Saban do it?
I'm telling you, I think it's a bad move for anybody.
It's a bad look. Look,
it's a bad look for anybody. Just let it end with the end of his career.
Yeah, but you're never going to replicate it. But that's also kind of what makes the show so.
I mean, they said it in the tribute video today on ESPN. Like, that's what everybody watches this show for. Everybody tunes into College Game Day to watch that, to watch Lee Corso pick headgear.
And like I agree with that, but also it's like, I think the public would be a little more open to Nick Saban doing something. Obviously, Pat McAfee is going to rub people
I think
wrong.
College Game Day would get a much bigger hit if they just like painted the logo on McAfee's belly when he took his shirt off. Like, don't even get near this territory.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I think you just got to find something.
They've already, honestly, if I were the producer, I would pitch that in the meeting room. Like, we've already laid the seed for McAfee takes his shirt off.
Yeah.
Like, why not just paint the logo on his belly and we'll try that out and see if it works. If people hate it, we'll just close the show with picks like every other freaking pregame show. That's why, I mean, it was like everyone loved the headgear thing, but that's what made it very, very different. Is we're going to end our show with a panel of picks like every other pregame show in the history of pregame shows, and then the guy who everyone loves on the show is going to put a mascot head on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's totally different.
And I think they've kind of already started flirting with those types of things with McAfee. Like, Lee Corso, let's be realistic, for the last 2 or 3 seasons has kind of been intermittently on the show. Yeah. And when he's not there, McAfee will stand up on the chair and do the fight song and then do the old rope-a-dope and, I'm picking this team instead. And everyone, I think that's kind of where the territory it's heading in, where McAfee does everything to get the crowd in there. But I agree. The headgear is we've got one left.
Maybe that's what it'll be, is just Pat McAfee scripting up something at the end of every show and doing his big hoorah. I do want to say, though, that before we move on, him dressing up as Ben Franklin, all-timer for sure.
James Madison?
No, that was Penn versus Harvard.
Oh, yeah.
I invented this school. This is my school.
What's the one where he dressed up as the Statue of Liberty?
James, I don't know. Oh, yeah.
That was my...
that was a really good one,
It was in Times Square. They're shooting confetti and everything.
Yeah.
What a legend, man.
What a legend. Universally loved.
Yeah.
That guy.
Is that the most liked figure in college, in sports?
Yeah, I think a close second right now in terms of universally loved is a guy by the name of Fran Brown. I think Fran Brown is universally liked. I don't know if he's universally loved. I think everybody is rooting for Syracuse and Fran Brown to have success. And a lot of it is, I think he's very, very relatable because he's very real. I think he's got some realism to him. And that came out today in his quotes about his wide receiver. There's a wide receiver. What's Pena's first name? Trebor,
I think, yeah.
Trebor. My man Pena went for 900 yards last year at Syracuse. He's entered the portal. Now, I thought the company that released these quotes today did Fran really, really dirty, because they made it seem like he was talking about this individual person in a quote with which he led off, "I'm not talking about Pena." Go ahead and give the quotes, please.
The full quote says, "It didn't play into that at all." Talking about money and Pena wanting more money. He said, "But sometimes people be asking for an outrageous number. Stop. With all due respect to everybody in the country, to every wide receiver, to everybody doing all this stuff, if you're going to make $2 million at wide receiver, that's the homie at Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith. Ain't nobody else making that money. I ain't giving no wide receiver $2 million in college, man."
And so all they read, it was On 3. All On 3 read when they put out the graphic today, or put out the article today, was, quote, "That's Jeremiah Smith money. Ain't nobody paying that." Quote, end quote. Syracuse wide receiver. Fran Brown comments on Syracuse wide receiver entering the portal.
Yeah.
That's not the way that's supposed to be done.
But I do wonder if this Nico Iamaleava situation doesn't arise and we don't see this kind of, I know we're not want to use the word, but collective uprising of all these coaches and all these organizations basically going, "No, we're not paying this amount of money." Does Fran Brown come out and say this? Because if let's just say in a world where Nico doesn't happen, if Fran Brown says that, "I'm not paying you," you would have to imagine there are some schools like the Ohio States, like these quote unquote haves that will go, well, we'll pay him. This kid had 900 yards last season.
I just always felt like, now the seeking a competitive advantage was always the reason why they haven't been collectively bargaining from day one. But if you actually know the world of college football coaching, you will understand that there's really 12 trees. All these guys know each other. I worked with that guy, so-and-so, such and such years at such and such school 10 years ago. Oh, me and him got the same protege. We both worked under such and such. I was a GA for his tight ends coach, so we're tight. They're all on the phone constantly with one another anyways, not to mention they're all communicating with the same agents, right? Like, so if you're offering Nico $1.5 million and the agent calls me back and says, hey, Christian just called and offered 1.5. I now know what you're offering, like unless the agent's lying to me, which happens all the time. But that would only lead me to believe if the agent's going to lie to me and I got your phone number, I'm going to pick up the phone and say, hey, coach, where are y'all at? Like, where are you at in the general ballpark? Now, you can choose to lie to me, but that is what it is. I just never understood why these guys weren't calling each other anyways. It's one of the first questions I asked some of the coaches that I know is like, y'all all have buddies. Y'all all have relationships that you wouldn't break for the sake of trying to get a kid. So why aren't you making these phone calls?
I mean, because what else are you going to do? You're going to, every time a kid visits you, you're going to ask them, hey, what are they offering you?
No.
Like, that isn't a smart business move to ask them, like, how much money are you getting offered everywhere else? Because that could totally fluctuate their market. So you would have to imagine that there is certainly communication with these.
There definitely is. And you wonder, like, how much the agents play into that, because we've talked about this before. The agents inflate the numbers no matter what. Mm-hmm. So to talk to the agent or go direct to someone, well, the agent's telling me this, like.
Plus, I mean, we have companies now that report these numbers.
I got a pretty good rule on how I interpret what the real number is, or the safe estimation of what a real number is. If the team that lands him gave me the number, I multiply by 2. If the team that lost the recruitment gave me the number, I divide by 2. If the agent calls me and tells me the number, which never happens, but if it were ever to happen, if I see an agent reporting it, I divide by 2. Because it's all where the information is coming from and who its most advantages, right? So if a team that just lost a high-powered recruit, the best way to explain that away is, Texas paid twice as much for Justice Terry. That's why we lost him. And that's how the reporting comes out that they gave the guy quarterback money. In reality, they probably gave him like $1.2 million, right? Or whatever it was. If a team that lands him calls me and says, oh man, we got so-and-so for such and such. You probably got him for twice as much as you're telling me that you got him, because it behooves you to let me know that you got that guy on a deal. Same thing with the agent. If the agent calls and tells you that they got a kid for $2 million, they probably really got him 1.2, or they probably really got him 1.1, because it behooves the agent for you to think that they got him $2 million. It's the problem with there being no real reporting on this stuff. It's all speculative reporting. It's all hearsay. So-and-so told me they're making such and such dollars. That may or may not be real.
It's a good thing we have that clearinghouse.
That's supposed to be coming.
To go through it. Well, I mean, supposed to have it now.
Yeah. Ain't happening.
That was like the thing that was established in 2020. It was like there's going to be a clearinghouse that siphons through all of these deals that we can keep track of who's making what, and just like...
Yeah, it's a mess.
Non-existent.
I thought I had a pretty good tweet today that we should talk about. If you're not following me on Twitter, you probably are. It's why you're here. At Brooks Austin BA on all social media accounts. The homies at Dr. _J Will.
Yep.
At Kirby _24K. Look at
correct.
that. The boss is locked in. So yeah, follow the homies on social media. Follow me as well. But I think there are 3 types of football players in the transfer portal right now. Player number 1 is a player that lost a position battle at a Power 4 school, or playing time is dim. Basically, he was asked to leave because he's not very good. Or player number 2 is a mid-major prospect that has outplayed his mid-major school and is now being poached or approached by Power 4 schools. All right, those are the 2 players in the portal in the spring window. Now, the player in the 3rd category that is separate of the first 2 is a bag chaser. All right, this is somebody whose agent has told him there is money to be had if we enter the portal right now. Okay. I personally stay away from the last one. I personally stay away from the first one. If I were a big-time football program thinking I'm competing for a national title, I am not taking D1 retreads who did not play at their previous school. If I'm Wake Forest, I am. If I'm Indiana, I don't mind taking a kid from Tennessee. If I'm, you get what I'm saying? This is the type of player available right now in the transfer portal. Those caliber of players. I lost the battle. I'm not going to play where I'm at. I'm a mid-major school. I'm balling. I'm chasing a check. That's it right now.
There also seems to be, though, this other category where it just seems like this is the end of the road, but I got to do it anyways. Of career's probably over, but I'm going to enter the transfer portal anyways.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what happens.
I had a coach on my tour tell me that he thinks a lot of kids use the portal as a way to quit football now.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go into the portal. Oh, shucks. Nobody picked me up. They slept on me.
I mean, and we sit here not a lot of times, but there's a good number of times I would say where we say, hey, whatever happened to so-and-so? Like, enter the portal and then you never hear about them ever again. And you just don't really know what they're up to.
I mean, there's 3,100 kids in the portal right now. 3,100 football players in the portal. I mean, there ain't 3,100 spots available. I don't think.
No.
There's not 3,100 spots available. So I think maybe 1,200 of those kids find homes.
Yeah.
You know?
If that.
So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. And it made sense to me. Back in the day, you just quit. Now, there's an option to let people know you're not quitting. Like, you think about that. Back in the day, you had to walk into a coach's office and be like, Coach, I'm quitting football. You know how many times you know how many people that probably kept from quitting football?
Yeah.
And now you can just walk in there and say, hey, Coach, I'm going to go into the portal. Hey, son, no one's going to get you out of there. You know what I mean?
I think it's also medical retiring. Seen a lot of.
Yeah.
I got to hang him up.
Head injuries.
Doctor said.
Hey, don't make fun of my man McCall like that.
Huh?
Oh, you're talking about Grayson McCall.
Don't make fun of Grayson like that.
I didn't mention his name.
I didn't either. Speaking of transfer portal, did you see what happened down in Miami today?
What did happen?
Not Carr hit the portal.
Former Georgia.
Not the first car to leave Miami.
That's a good joke. You've been sitting on that one all day, hadn't you?
That avoid.
Lobbed it up.
That was
slam
good
that
shit right
thing
there.
down.
That was almost
perfect execution.
That was almost too smooth and under the breath. I don't know how many people in the audience heard that one.
was good.
Wow.
Okay, well, that was good.
That was a good one. But yeah, Nikar hits the portal today. And here's why we're talking about this. I legitimately think they finna have to have open tree outs at the wide receiver position. As of today, with Nikar hitting the portal, according to my resources, Miami has 7 scholarship wide receivers on the roster, 3 of which are true freshmen.
Don't matter.
Not good.
That's
not
no good.
Huh?
That's so good.
That's no good. That's no good. We do not have enough bodies in the room. Okay. I understand Josiah Trader, really, really talented. I understand CJ Daniels did 800 yards at Liberty, did 400 yards at LSU last year, and is now at Miami. That's all fine and good. I understand Malachi Toney was highly touted. That's awesome. Sounds like he's great. I understand Josh Moore, really good football player. Dalen Upshaw might be great. We got 7 bodies at a position group that plays 3 of them at all times, by the way. All right, and here's the deal. Here would be my first response. Oh, maybe they got a plethora of tight ends. Not really. Their third string tight end. I don't want to crap on nobody. I ain't even going to say his name. Their third string tight end has a brother on the roster, and this tight end just got here from UAB, where he did not play. His previous stop was Michigan State, where he did not play. That guy's the third stringer. They can't even really go 12 personnel. I don't know what the hell's going to go on in Miami this year, but it is interesting to say the least. Oh, by the way, quarterback, probably not going to be able to practice until like mid-August or like early August. Let's call it early August, late July.
I did see today in an article.
He's throwing balls.
That, yeah, he has started throwing. But yeah, fully practicing, yes, you're probably right.
Luckily for them, their season doesn't really start off on a hot streak. They only have to play Notre Dame, the team that went to the national championship last year. But I mean, it's one of these things I think we've seen time and time again that, hey, let's try and build something off a portal and get this one-hit wonder of a season and everything will be fine if we cash out on that. Has not paid off yet. The best version of that we saw was the 2023 Florida State Seminoles. They were this close to making college football playoff. Obviously, the Jordan Travis thing happened. But other than that, and we saw what happened the year after, like, why do coaches continuously go to the transfer portal to build up these teams? Because this is what Miami was last year.
This is what was crazy because Mario Cristobal was brought in to recruit on the high school trail. Mm-hmm. That's Mario Cristobal's bag. You know, I think a lot of this got messed up when, and I could be mistaken here, I think the Ruiz guy that was the head of their NIL collective and was pouring all the money in there, the cryptocurrency guy, I think he got in some financial trouble. And I think that might have limited how much they was out here able to throw on the high school trail, which would lead you to leaning into the transfer portal market a little bit more. Like you mentioned Florida State. I'm not saying this is going to happen to Miami this year, but with all they're like a pulled hamstring away from Josiah Trader from looking up and say, all right, CJ Daniels and 2 freshmen got to lead us to success offensively. By the way, they only have 3 scholarship running backs on the roster.
Yeah, and the schedule's
one of which is a true freshman.
And the schedule's not forgiving easy. You're at SMU. You open the season with Notre Dame. Syracuse isn't a cakewalk. There's another really tough ACC team in there, but like things could get very ugly for Mario Cristobal this year.
And the thing for me too is like it's not even like they're being super active, or at least pretending to be super active in the spring transfer portal. Like Nitro Tuggle enters the portal for Georgia today. Miami's nowhere to be found in that one. Like it's Indiana or Syracuse. That seems to be the 2 teams that...
You're telling me, I thought that was a shoe-in. He's going down to Miami.
Miami has not been linked there. There wasn't even like early action there.
What in the
so
world?
Like even like these ones that feel like they're obvious, which I don't know if there is an ACC interconference transfer rule. Is there? Is it every conference?
I know the Big Ten and the SEC have the rule. I don't know if the ACC does.
Like Hakeem Williams from Florida State, like that feels like another was like, hey, let's just go ahead and try. Like at least because like what Florida State has done at least is they pretend to be like they're trying. They say Squirrel White. We're gonna get Thomas Castellanos and Squirrel White and Deuce Robinson. It's like, ooh, okay, like they're trying.
Linemen,
at least on paper, you're trying.
It's interesting to say the least. Should we preview these spring games? There's a couple of them going on this week. Some big ones.
Let's preview the spring
I like talking
game.
football.
Who y'all want to start with? Colorado, South Carolina, Michigan, or Texas A&M?
I think we should start with Colorado because, I mean, the obvious thing that we're going to watch there is a quarterback battle. Other than that, it's like...
I thought mentally... You pay Caden Salter. I guess I inflated the market for Caden Salter. I thought Caden Salter leaving Liberty after having to leave Tennessee because of some problems. He was part of a freshman group that got arrested in dorms his freshman year. I don't know if y'all remember that. He was a highly touted Elite 11 finalist.
Yes,
got in some trouble at Tennessee, had to transfer, went to Liberty, and played really fairly well. Okay, played fairly well. And I thought when he went into the market, I thought this was going to be a big play. And he ends up going to Colorado, a school that is known to kind of spend at the quarterback position. They had just done so with Julian Lewis, which we know was not a free recruitment process coming out of high school. When they signed Caden Salter, I was like, whoa, I thought y'all paid the freshman to come in here and start all 4 years. When you bring in Salter, I assumed he was going to be a starting quarterback. All the intel that I have heard is that this is a neck-and-neck race right now between Julian Lewis and Caden Salter. And this is one of the only spring games we're going to be able to watch on national television. I'm not glued into ESPN2 on Saturday, but I'll be tuned in to ESPN2 on Saturday.
I mean, I believe it. Like, we talk about it all the time, and I know that in rare cases teams do it because they really just have to for the price tag, but coaches usually don't hitch their wagon to the starting quarterback being a true freshman. I know Nebraska did it last year with Dylan Raiola, but that's because you had to bring a bag for him. And obviously, Colorado probably did the same here, but if you can get Caden Salter and Julian Lewis, and you can have that experience of a guy to kind of push forward this extremely talented freshman. I mean, Colorado's got 2, from what we understand, pretty solid options at quarterback this year.
I'm just curious to see what the hell the rest of the roster looks like. Like, everybody talks about the loss of Travis and Shador, and that's tremendous offensively and defensively as a corner right there. But LaJohntay Webster ain't no slappy. Okay, the Jimmy Horn kid ain't bad. Mm-hmm. All right, the transfer that they got from Vanderbilt that wore 14. Will Shepard. I think he's an NFL football player. Those 4 weapons at wide receiver are gone, and the quarterback. So, like, I don't know what they're going to look like as an offense. Defensively, I don't know what happened, but at the moment Dion took that job, all the aggregate accounts were just like, all right, well, I'm going to be a Colorado aggregate account now. So they're all over my Twitter account feeds and all over my algorithm. They got DBs out here getting flat, roasted, and cooked on the daily. I don't know what their DB room looks like either. So I'm interested to see what the remainder of the roster looks like. It's awesome that you got great quarterback play. What does the rest of the roster look like? I think the 5-star left tackle that they signed out of IMG Academy, I think his last name starts with an S. He's turning out to be a really good player for them. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what the rest of the team looks like.
Oh, and then earlier today, they're starting center into the transfer portal.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And then, looking on the stat sheet today, Shedeur Sanders was the leading rusher for Colorado last year in attempts. 100 rushing attempts.
Well, that also counts sacks.
I mean,
okay, well, sacks. Would you like to guess how many rushing yards he had?
Oh, probably not many at all.
-50.
Yeah,
on 100 attempts. which I know. Sacks, I get it. It's a college try, but still 100 attempts and it's minus 50.
I probably only have like 35 sacks.
Yeah, 35, 40 sacks.
So, I mean, the rest of those scrambles?
I guess.
Most likely.
I guess. He did have some horrendous sacks. Some like, I'm running 20 yards backwards getting sacked.
Yeah, you're right.
Let me do the Bo Nix. I got
Yeah.
caught.
Anything else about the Colorado spring game?
No, I think it's pretty cut and dry.
South Carolina plays Friday night. Tomorrow night. Under the lights. Will it be?
My biggest question is this. What does Lenore Sellers look like? And the problem is, I don't think you're going to be able to really gauge what Lenore Sellers looks like.
He's out. Like fourth quarter,
Not even that. Like the way he
now.
plays is not conducive to a spring game. No one's going to be tracking the quarterback that hard. No one's going to be really putting him under the immense pressure that you would suspect that he's going to be under. I think this is going to be very much like Lenore Sellers sits in the pocket and deals, and if he does good, he does good. If he does bad, he does bad. But either way, it's not a reflection of what he's going to do in the fall.
The thing I want to hear about is that I think, South Carolina's offensive line has been talked about ad nauseum the last several years, how they can't protect their quarterback. I think they've finally gotten to a point where, in my opinion, they have a serviceable starting 5 in the SEC. I like their 5. My question is, you got to be like 8 deep, like 8 serviceable players in this conference to be alive come December. So that to me is the biggest key there. Also, on the other side of the football, everybody talks about Luke Kennard, who I always want to call Kyle Kennard?
Kyle Kennard.
Luke Kennard's the hooper.
Yes.
Everybody wants to talk about Kyle Kennard leaving, and that's SEC Player of the Year, all that good stuff. And they got Dylan Stewart back. Wendell Gregory transferred out to Oklahoma State, so edge depth's a little bit concerning. They signed Jadeveon Clowney's younger cousin. They're trying to add bodies into that room. And they signed a JUCO kid from
Xavier Hardy.
Xavier Hardy from the state of Georgia. They're adding bodies into that edge position. But guys, TJ Sanders and Taka Hemingway were like verifiable SEC dudes on tape the last 3 years at that South Carolina defensive line. So I think it's just as important to hear that they've found an answer at defensive tackle and nose tackle. So that would be my biggest concern.
Yeah, the other 2 questions I have are wide receivers, because you do bring back Jared Brown, Nick Harbor, and Mazio Bennett, who have been guys for you in years past. Like, you have experience with them. You know about these players.
Elite college football 25 players, which we've found recently to be credible reporting.
Yes. Yeah, apparently if a player enters the transfer portal, you then should go look at his college football 25 stats to then gauge how good of a player they are.
Especially if he has 99 overall speed.
Then you know for a fact,
your team should buy him out of the portal.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's what you should be doing now as your research for these transfer portal players. Anyways, but once you get past those 3 players, it very quickly, kind of like we've talked about with some other teams, it very quickly gets to true freshmen. 2 true freshmen, Lex Cyrus and Malik Clark. Those would be 2 guys I'm really paying attention to if I'm a South Carolina fan this weekend. And then also defense, but in the secondary specifically, because you lose Nico Iamaleava, but I mean, it's kind of like, can Jalen Kilgore be this guy now that kind of leads this pack? Because they're going to have some difference makers, and they had a lot of difference makers in their secondary last year.
I don't know what's going on in the chat, J. Will, but they want to put you in a full Nelson. I don't know what's going on
910 Cooper
there.
is my first hater, I guess.
Huh.
I think you're too tall.
First ever hater?
First hater on the or right now, I guess.
I think you're too tall to be putting a full Nelson J.
Michigan plays on Saturday. What are we excited to see other than Bryce Underwood?
Good segment. All right. Nothing.
In all seriousness, they lost a shitload of offensive NFL talent after the national title year. I don't think enough people talk about, unless you watch NFL mock drafts and what's going on with the draft, all of their defensive talent from that national title, it's gone this year.
Yeah, I think
this year.
I think realistically, like the biggest thing I'm gonna be looking at is how do you replace the defensive talent of Mason Graham and Will Johnson? That's the cornerback's name, right?
Yes.
Like guys like that were so,
and Kenneth Grant.
Yeah, like major players from 2023 that kind of carried along the 2024 team that made it, what it was for last year, but I'm very, very interested to see. Now, the good news is that this roster seems to have fight under Sharon Moore. Like, they seem to really believe in him. It doesn't seem like he's just kind of the whipping boy that we thought he was going to be for all these NCAA sanctions that I highly doubt will ever come down the track. But
man, it's got to feel like a huge breath of fresh air for a Michigan fan this weekend to go from watching, what was it, PJ Walker? Was that his name? The walk-on quarterback?
Dylan Walker, I thought. Either way.
Last name Walker.
Dylan Warren.
Oh, yeah, Dylan Warren. the walk-on quarterback, watching him throwing the football, to now we get Bryce Underwood and we get to watch him throw the football in a spring game. Like, that's got to be a 9-day difference for them. So that would be the biggest thing, I guess, because defense was still solid last year, but you just had no pulse on offense. So if you can get any type of momentum and creativity there, that'd be a good sign for you.
I know you're not going to get a full feel of it from a spring game, especially if it's not televised. I don't know the status of this one. It's probably on the Big Ten Network, considering Ohio State was last week. I'm very, very curious to see what the culture of Michigan football looks like year 2 removed from Jim Harbaugh. I think last year you still had a lot of those same identities, same culture traits that you're living off of. Hey, we're 18 months removed from the head coach leaving. So what does the Sharon Moore era really feel like this year at Michigan? I'll be interested to see that. For Texas A&M, this was really interesting for me to see. Guys, they only added 17 new bodies onto this roster, 14 of which were from the transfer portal.
Ooh.
Yeah, 18, excuse me. They signed 4 high school kids.
That's it?
That's it. They're all enrolled, too. Interesting. It's only 18 new bodies. What do the 14 new transfers look like? And it's some big names, right? It's guys like the Concepcion kid from NC State, TJ Searcy from Florida, Sam Mpemba from Georgia, Julian Humphrey from Georgia. Like, it's high-powered names, at least, guys that got to play. I'm also curious to see defensive line-wise. Shamar Stewart has not had the production that is required to be a first-round draft pick, and it's getting knocked on right now in the NFL draft process. But I don't know of a defender, maybe Mykel Williams, that drew more attention, that allowed others to grow outside of Shamar Stewart, and they got to replace that. Who do you have to prepare for at Texas A&M? The last 2 years, you've had to prepare for 4.
It's very interesting because I feel like last season for Texas A&M was kind of the, hey, Jimbo Fisher left you a big mess. Mike Elko, you're going to come in and kind of fix it. Whatever happens his first year is kind of, it's a mulligan. You can do whatever you need. We give you your first year of grace. We're coming into year 2 now, and they had a successful first season under Mike Elko, I'd say. But the realistic thing is, like, I don't feel like this Texas A&M team has even an identity. And that's kind of the weird part for me.
Well, I feel like last year that was part of the reasons why they had some struggles, and I think why they had some really bad spurts is because they struggled to find an identity because they didn't have an identity at quarterback. It was fluctuating constantly. Like Marcel Reed would enter into the game, and who was the other quarterback that I'm blanking on right now that started for them?
It wasn't Zach Calzada. It wasn't.
I don't know why. I always want to say Calzada too, but it's not him. I can't remember his name. I know Chat's going to pick it up for me here really quickly. Connor Weigman.
There it is.
I always blank on his name. So it's either Marcel Reed or Connor Weigman. It was always up and down. And so I feel like they really struggled to find an identity as a team because there wasn't a constant at quarterback. Defensively, they were strong. But like Brooks mentioned, I mean, they've lost some really good football players on that side of the ball.
We're going to talk about some really good football players coming up in our local hour right now. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
My man Bryce paid $4.99 to remind me that Shador took horrendous sacks. Welcome to the local hour. We got a great local hour planned for you guys tonight. Transfer portal targets to pay attention to. We got visits being taken that we're going to tell you about. Portal entries from Georgia. Some guys' Georgia football careers coming to an end. And we're going to revisit some of the spring portal additions in the past. But I want to start tonight's local hour kind of giving you a rundown of what I understand to be their process of identification for potential portal targets. That was a lot of P's right there, boys. So here's the process from my understanding after talking to sources over the years with how they identify who they're going to go after, especially in the spring right about now. checklist item number 1. Is he a productive player from the 5-state radius? Okay, so that is all the surrounding 5 states from the state of Georgia. Okay, someone who's got playing experience at a respectable level that can, quote, return home or, quote, stay close to home in that second stop, right? Those guys that are entering the transfer portal trying to get back closer to home. That is a significant sign of Georgia interest. Number 2, any player with serious recruiting ties to the staff or to the roster. Okay, so anybody in high school that had a prior existing relationship to a member of the coaching staff, or even a member, like a player on the roster. If there's a, hey, so-and-so played with somebody over here, there's already a mutual relationship. Hey, let's see if we can get our foot in the door there. Those are easy identification tools and things to pay attention to there. And then third one, the last one, right? Any player that they think can immediately play for them at a position of need. Okay, ideally you check all of these boxes. Now in the fall, guys, in that December portal window, there is an additional kind of checklist item that gets added to the list. Do you guys know what it might potentially be? Now it's it's applied during the winter window, not during the spring window. That's the tip off.
So we've got played against them, I would guess.
Yeah, played against them, or more specifically, played in the SEC and had success. Right? Ra Thomas didn't have success against them specifically, but he had success in the SEC.
I think London Humphreys is a prime example.
London Humphreys murdered them. Come join us, young fella. That kind of thing, right? Those guys apply much more during this December window because you can transfer in conference.
I was trying to remember if Dom Lovett had a good game against him in 2023.
He did. I think he went for 95 yards.
2022.
I think he went for 95 yards or something like that. 8 for 93. Boy, if that comes out right on, that would be weird. But yeah, I think he had. I remember specifically an out and up from Brady Cook.
6 for 84.
Oh. Man, I was close. Yeah, but anyways, that's the kind of process right there. So with that being said, let's go through some names of some guys that I think you need to be paying attention to as this transfer portal window starts to heat up. First and foremost, I think in big red letters, I'm not going to say their number one target, but a guy that I think fits all of these molds, right, or all of these checklist items, right? First and foremost, a position of need. This is Josh McCray, the running back that entered the portal a couple of days ago from Illinois. He is certainly a position of need. We've told you on this network, they are in the market for a running back, right? And particularly one that pairs well with Nate Frazier. Nate Frazier, we would classify him as a lightning running back, okay? If you are going to pair lightning with somebody, you want to pair him with thunder. Josh McCray, 6'1", 230 pounds, the definition of a big back, okay? This is a first down back that would pair well with Nate Frazier, all right? He checks the position of need box. He also checks the from the 5-state radius box. He's from Alabaster, Alabama, okay? And obviously, he has production at the Power 4 level, had 12 totes for $114 against South Carolina in the bowl game. Checks a lot of boxes, does Josh McCray. My understanding, they're in the mix here.
And I think that the kind of quote-unquote power back that can really just pull you down on third and short is something that's kind of been missing from this roster for a while.
I would agree.
Now. Like I would say the last one to really be able to do this, in my opinion, was kind of Zamir White. Kendall Milton had the potential to be this, but I think a lot of the injuries kind of made him more of a one cut and go back. Like you just need a run you over type back.
Absolutely do. You have been missing that because Branson and Roderick have missed significant time at the same time, and that's kind of been the big killer for this running back room. And you're still waiting on Roderick to get healthy now. Now, you assume that he's going to be healthy at the start of the season, but you'd like to have an option that you can bring in and you know for a fact, like, this guy can go for us.
We know Cash is a veteran football player, but we know what Cash is, right? Or at least ideally what he is. He's a third down back, right?
Yeah.
That's what we believe him to be in the most ideal situation, which means the rest of the room has one traditional every down back that has SEC experience, and it's Nate Frazier. That's it. That's why they're in the market. You know, that's why they need to get another body. They feel the need to get another body at the position. I think Josh McCray is that type of prospect to potentially pay attention to. Another one to be paying attention to. Now, I want to preface this by saying I think everybody and they mama gonna be in on this one. All right, everybody and they mama gonna be in on this one, and it is the 6'6", 265-pound defensive end out of North Carolina. My man, Bo Atkinson. Bo spelt the Louisiana way, too. Not Bo spelt the South Georgia way. This is B-E-A-U, Bo Atkinson. Now, he obviously checks the box of position need, right? We've been talking about defensive end needing to be filled via the transfer portal this spring. He obviously checks the box of the 5-state radius being from the state of North Carolina. He obviously checks the box of high production rates at the Power 4 level. Here's the deal. You're going to get a visit, but I was told South Carolina is now in the mix on this one. Ohio State's going to get a visit as well. This one's getting pricier by the hour.
This kind of seems like he's the belle of the ball as far as the spring portal window goes.
What do you call it? BPA, best player available?
Yeah.
He's BPA right now on everyone's board from what I've been told.
If you land him, that's great. It adds a lot of depth to a much-needed position, but there's also schools that have what you would assume are equal size, if not bigger, pocketbooks, such as Ohio State, that also are in need of positions like this. They just lost Jack Sawyer. So
this was the response late last night when I asked if there was interest from Georgia. Quote, if we can get that guy, F yeah. If we can get that guy. That insinuates to me, like I said, it's an expensive one.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. So I'm reading chat right now, and I think it is a little funny that, you know, on this show, because we talk Georgia, when we say, hey, it's getting expensive, Georgia and Ohio State are going up against one another, Georgia fans are saying, well, unfortunately, it's going to be Ohio State in this one. I would probably venture to say, and you can say I'm wrong if I'm wrong, that if it's Ohio State's show and they're talking about Bo Atkinson, it's like, hey, by the way, though, Georgia's getting a visit on that one. Their fans are probably saying, like, well, that's probably going to be Georgia, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Ohio State maybe not. Ohio State fans, I think.
You're right.
I think they know they got a bag. I think Ohio State fans know they can get up after it with regards to
who was it Ohio State thought they could go get as a OC?
Oh, it was the Green Bay Packers.
It was Mike Vrabel. They're like,
oh yeah, that's the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, we go hire Mike Vrabel as DC.
But I do think you're right in the sense that when I talk to other like SEC schools, like we cover Georgia, so it would make sense that our sources are like, hey man, we're not out here paying ass loads of money for everybody. And then you talk to coaches outside of the Georgia space and they're like, well, Georgia got in the mix, so the price just went up. So yeah, I'm with you. Look, here's the deal. If Georgia was as broke as Georgia claims to their media that they were, Georgia wouldn't recruit in the top 5 every single year. Now, you know what I mean?
But they're thrifting.
Yeah, they're thrifty. That's what they are. They're thrifty. And then this year, it leaks out that, hey, Georgia's here to play. You know, Steve Whitflong's out here like, hey, Georgia's out here turning it up. They're out here spending that money this year. You know, the other years, they was out here bargain shopping for 5 stars. That's what they were doing previously.
Also, they're like,
important.
This seems to be the only name they're really pushing for at this position.
I wouldn't say that. We got some more here to be paying attention to. I would say he's the one that they're pushing for in terms of like, this guy could start for us.
Okay.
Like this guy could come in and play like not hey, we need a body.
Yeah.
I think the rest of these guys are, hey, we need bodies. Okay. And I'm gonna go through that list right now. Maybe Joshua Horton, who we're gonna talk about next, doesn't fit into this role down the road because he's got 3 years remaining of eligibility. But Joshua Horton, if added to the roster right now, would be a body.
Yeah.
Like he'd be in the mix to play meaningful snaps at defensive end. Down the road might be a real player if he comes to the University of Georgia. I loved Joshua Horton out of high school. He checks a lot of these boxes that we were talking about. This is a kid from Langston Hughes High School. So boom, returning home inside the area. That checks that box. Okay, 6'5", 280 pounds. Boom, checks the body box, right? There's a body type that they need at the position. They have ties to this kid dating back to his recruitment in high school. They were a late bloomer in terms of interest for him, but they kept good relationships all the way down to the wire. Trey Scott and Dale McGee did a great job while Dale was in that area. You might ask, or during that time, you might ask why Dale was involved. Dale recruits Southwest Metro Atlanta better than anybody. That's why he took the Georgia State job. That's why I think eventually it's going to be successful. That being said, Joshua Horton's going to take a visit, or is already taking a visit to the University of Georgia, and I think this is one you need to pay attention to. high school teammates of Bo Hewley, Donnie Glover. I could go on and on why it makes sense. It just makes sense that this would be a body that they have interest in.
And I think too, I know the first thing that everybody does when they see these guys enter the portal is they want to go look at the stat sheet, and it says he only played in 5 games. I did also read though that he dealt with injuries last season. It wasn't just one big injury; it was multiple injuries. So kind of like a spot play guy.
I mean, it sounds to me like as a true freshman, he played 5 games and would have played in all of them had he not battled injury.
Yeah,
that's what it read to me.
If you're a Georgia fan, you should know more than anyone that the stat sheet doesn't necessarily reflect the quality of player. You've had first round picks that had less than 7 sacks in a season. Like it's all subjective.
Now, those first 3 names, I think, fit into we're like an Xavier McLeod role, right? Like, we're going to bring this guy in to play a lot of snaps for us. We need this. We need a body to come in here. I think the next 2 guys we're going to talk about they're like modern, I'm not going to say modern walk-ons, but they're modern depth pieces. Like, we need more bodies in these particular rooms. One of those being Cedric Smith, the defensive tackle from Alabama A&M. Now, Alabama A&M, not one of these Power 4 schools, right? Not one of these, hey, this is a guy that we've played against or that a guy that's played high-level competition and had levels of production. Let's bring him in. But Cedric Smith played his high school football at South Atlanta High School. This is a guy that went overlooked during his recruitment process that played as a redshirt freshman this year at Alabama A&M and played relatively well. 6'5", 280 pounds, relatively good mover and relatively good athlete. It's a projectable player. They need the body if they're going to add him. I think of all the names that we're talking about tonight in terms of who are they closest to already being a done deal and already coming to Georgia, I would put Cedric Smith in that category. Okay.
When we talk about these kind of spring, like, hey, we need a body in the spring portal window, do teams tend to overpay simply because you're in a position where...
Go ahead.
Do we think that teams kind of overpay in that spring window because, the demand might be a little higher because the desperation from teams like, hey, we need a body?
Yeah. I mean, when you get to a point in this point in the season where you feel like we're one injury away from catastrophic lack of depth, that's when you go out in the spring portal and you find what you can do. I think there's more tampering going on right now than there is right before the December window. Right before the December window, that tampering's already been done all the way throughout the year. Right now, you're getting, oh shit, we all of a sudden need a defensive end. Let's see who we can go buy. No? And this is why Georgia got put into this position because of the December window and because of the NFL draft declarations that happened. They did not expect Damon Wilson and Taron Ingham-Dawkins to not be on this roster right now.
No.
And for that matter, they expected Trevor Etienne to be back on this roster right now. So they got caught off guard at certain positions, and that's why they're in the market right now at positions we didn't expect them to be in.
It makes sense. I mean, like, there's only so much you can do to be proactive, and we feel like there isn't really ever a time where Georgia's like, oh, they weren't prepared for this. But when stuff like this does happen, where it's kind of, hey, I'm going to transfer, kind of catch you off guard here, or I'm going to go to the NFL. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. It's stuff like that kind of, quote unquote, catches you off guard.
Troy Spikes, a defensive tackle from Georgia Southern, entered the portal this morning. Went to high school with Quintavious Johnson. Now, I'm not saying this is what's going on, but I was telling Jonathan today, if I were a head football coach at like Georgia, for example, and my director of player personnel wasn't having this exact conversation that I'm about to have with you as an audience, I think I'd look at him a little funny, and I think I'd hire somebody like me that thinks like me. All right, and here's what I'm saying. Quintavious Johnson, we all know, because we're insiders now, all right, and we're insiders on this network, Quintavious Johnson is about to be a massively important football player for the University of Georgia. We all agree that?
Yes.
All right, we all agree that Quintavious Johnson was a top 300 player out of high school and probably isn't making an astronomical amount of money right now, correct?
Yeah.
We all agree that. We all agree that he's going to have a really good and important season this year for the University of Georgia, right?
Yes.
We all agree that means next year's price goes up, right?
That's how the numbers work.
All right. That's how math works. That's how common sense works. So, common sense speaking, Quintavious Johnson's due for a massive raise this time next year. Now, what might keep that price tag down a little bit? Well, let's go sign his best friend from Georgia Southern. Let's go sign a kid that's played high school football with him for the last, played football with him for the last 6 years of his life. And maybe might even call him a brother. Let's go get that guy on the roster, and that might decrease our keep price next year. I don't know. Brilliant idea. Hey, by the way, coach, while I'm pitching this to you, his best friend happens to play a position of need for us. Might be pretty smart. Might be pretty smart. May or may not got a phone call about that one yesterday. Like, hey, you know anything about this? I don't know about that. I was just eating the chips.
I mean, one of the best business moves you can make is if it benefits you in multiple ways. Hey, we need a defensive line body. Hey, it could also benefit us in the future investments of a player already on our roster.
Yeah.
Hey, 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. Might be smart. Again, if you are a head coach at a Power 5 school and your director of player personnel is not having these conversations, I don't know what to tell you. You're way out of luck. You're way out of luck. That's what I would be doing. And look, hey, I ain't saying they already done it, but I mean, it's not a bad path that they've already been on. Hey, Dylan Bell's coming back. His brother's in the portal. Pretty decent player. Ain't going to cost us a lot of money. Let's go bring him on the roster. Hey, Zion Branch is in the portal. His brother's also there too. We need a safety. Come on, Zion and Zachariah. Not a bad idea. I think there's a couple other siblings on the roster as well. Is there not? Am I missing somebody? Aren't there another brother or cousins or something like that?
Did you say Dylan Bell?
I did. Dylan and Micah
Bell,
already in there.
Jeremy Bell.
Yeah. So
they're doing it with. Did Lawson Lucky's brother?
Oh, I know what it was. Lawson Lucky's brother Carter's getting heavily recruited in 2026. Nnamdi Agboko's brother Ikeen Agboko's getting heavily recruited in 2026.
Luke Bennett.
Oh, we're going to the Bennett brothers.
Bennett brothers.
The Bennett brothers.
Will Muschamp and his son.
Will Muschamp.
Jackson, come on now.
Drew Bobo.
Hell yeah.
Make sure we keep Mike around.
Come on now. Yeah, that's what we got. We got to worry about keeping Mike around. Opportunities.
Bobo haters gonna be waiting for the day he graduates now.
So there's that.
Good. That was not my intention of saying his name, but
I think it would be a brilliant business strategy to have the foresight to know our price on Quintavious is about to double, bare minimum. And our price, if it goes up 1.5 instead of 2x because his best friend's on the roster, that's ideal. And his best friend happens to play D tackle. Now, Jonathan, you did some research today and went back and found all of the spring portal window signees that they've had in years prior. And what did your research lead you to the conclusion of, my friend?
I kind of feel like there's a varying of categories, kind of like you mentioned leading into your last segment of the types of players that they're looking for in the spring transfer portal window. So I kind of wanted to go back and look at what kind of players they evolved into that they took specifically in the spring transfer portal. So we'll start from the very, very beginning. JT Daniels was a spring transfer portal commit. That was in the summers. I remember when he committed to Georgia. This was after Georgia had gotten Jamie Newman. They get JT Daniels. Turns out to be a starting quarterback for Georgia. Started multiple games for them. So a beneficial get for sure, knowing what the quarterback position ended up being.
Success.
Wouldn't have lost to Bama if you started him in 2021.
Ooh.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Another one that ended up being a hit was Darian Kendrick. He was also a spring transfer portal commit. Ended up being your starting defensive back for you, playing a major role in you winning a national title.
Success.
Shout out Clemson. Thank you.
All right, this one is where it gets to be a little bumpy.
Oh, no, not shout out Clemson. Shout out Clemson Police Department that found a gun in the lap. Shout out to that. Go ahead.
This is where it gets...
not guilty.
What a crazy way to talk about a Georgia legend.
I mean, it's why he ended up at Georgia.
It is why he ended up at Georgia.
So don't shout out Clemson.
Shout out Dabo.
Shout out Legal Carry.
Shout out Dabo Sweeney.
Just don't fall asleep.
Dabo Sweeney. Shout out Joel Osteen. What's up?
All right. This is where it starts to get a little rocky. Eric Gilbert was also a spring transfer portal commit.
G-Day legend.
Looked to be at what could have been a promising career in totality, but, some other unfortunate things happened.
Not a success.
That was one of those, he's so talented. We have to try.
Yeah, at the start of it, it was like, wow, what a huge get for Georgia.
I think people forget he committed to Florida.
Yeah.
He was a Florida guy, then he decommit and then he went to Georgia.
Well, you know why?
It wasn't a true deke
Yeah,
commit.
he couldn't. He didn't have the classes.
Yeah, it
to
wasn't
get
like
into
classes.
Florida.
It
didn't
couldn't
let him-
transfer right.
People don't. Oh, man, it's such a deep cut. He only got into Georgia that year because he went to an in-state school at Marietta High School and took dual enrollment classes. So they were able to take the dual enrollment classes at Georgia. They were not able to take those credits at Florida. So he would have been academically ineligible. That's why he ended up at Georgia. Man.
Yeah.
Facts.
Crazy. So yeah, this one's a little interesting because you took at the start, you probably were like, this one's going to be another miss, but it ended up being a massive hit for you. Tyke Smith was a spring transfer portal commit. Early injuries got him, but then by the time that he got fully healthy, I mean, what an impactful player he was for Georgia.
Friend of the show, success.
All right, now it's pretty much just kind of plummets a little bit. Might not even know who this guy is, but he was a spring transfer portal commit. There's no reason why, because he never even actually got a carry at the University of Georgia. Lyneth Whitehead.
Oh, yeah.
Former Tennessee running back.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, he committed to Georgia, was purely just, hey, we need somebody, I guess.
We need a practice toter.
And that's exactly what it was. Never recorded a stat at Georgia or anything like that. Another one that kind of fits this one, who's no longer on the roster, actually. This is an Oregon transfer, Colin Gill, defensive back. He transferred
Vince's
to Georgia in the
brother.
spring. He has since transferred to Charlotte.
Charlotte success.
Yes. Biff Poggi, didn't save your job, but
Shout
at
out
least you
to
tried.
Vince.
Damn.
Then there's these last two that happened the most recent. Jaden Rashada, quarterback, spring transfer portal commit for the University of Georgia.
Still in the portal.
Still in the portal.
Shame. Kirby.
Don't know where that one's going, but
Shame Kirby let another more talented backup walk.
Insane.
these
What
dang
was he
practice,
thinking?
these dang pre.
It's going to cost him his job one day.
It's going to. It's going to catch up to him
Yeah.
one of these days.
One of these days,
That
one
is allegiances to his friends.
It's going to get him.
one of these days, one of these warm-up passes is going to to go so viral.
Shaq keeps saying Rashada to Tennessee. It's not true.
It's one guy, and I think he's trolling.
I didn't see it anywhere,
And if is
guys.
yeah, no. He's,
Would
I
he
got
not-
enough people
if
on
he goes
alerts
to
on my
Tennessee,
phone
would-
that if he committed to Tennessee,
yeah, we would have known.
if he goes
Would've
to
known.
Tennessee, would he not have to sit a year?
No,
No.
because he was in the portal in December.
True.
big brain, Kirby, big brain.
I'm
Yeah,
asking
use that big
questions.
brain, big guy.
You're
I
the one
think
who's
you
like,
forgot one.
you're the one who's like, Jaden Rashada just went to Tennessee. Don't
No,
bang the
no
gavel.
pushback on
Don't
the
bang the
judge.
gavel at me.
No pushback on
Just
the judge.
because you have a $7 wood piece.
Do we need to
off
call
there.
recess? Sir?
It was $4.99 at Amazon. Recess on the stage. I think you forgot one.
Yes, the one and final one, who kind of in between a little bit. Ben Urosic, the Stanford tight end, was a spring transfer
Shout
portal
out my
commit.
twin.
Took about a month into the season before he really started to get going. When he came to Georgia, people were saying this is going to be the next NFL tight end from Georgia. There's a lot of hype around this one. Didn't exactly pan out, but still was a big contributor for Georgia this year.
How much do you think it would cost us to get Ben Urosic to sit in for Kirby for 2 hours?
How much are these media companies paying these players?
Oh, I don't know. For Urosic? I don't mean to say it like that, Ben, if you're listening. It's definitely not coming on now.
Don't talk about my twin like that.
But
Oh yeah, he's definitely cheap. We could afford.
We've
it.
never paid a guest, but we would have to pay him because what I would ask him to do is play Kirby for 2 hours. Like, do the show. Like, come in, do show notes, run the cameras, be Ben Urosic as Christian Kirby, and see how quickly the audience figured it out. We'd scoot his chair down so he'd be as short as you.
I mean, it goes something like this. Ben,
I'm not that
for the
short.
first time in your life, come in and just don't give a shit.
That was a shot at me. But
Yeah, it was.
nah.
Ben, just come in here.
Swing and a miss, J. Will.
Ben, come in here and act
I
like
laughed
you're
soon as it
annoyed
hit.
by everything that goes on.
That is very. I don't think the mics can do representation to how loud that shit is. Quite annoying.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, but to run it down, Urosic, I think, worked out the last 9 games.
Yeah.
Colin Gill is at Charlotte already within a
Yeah.
year. Jaden Rashada still in the portal. Entered the portal after 6 months. Lyneth Whitehead graduated, never took a snap. JT Daniels, we all know how that went. A-Rick Gilbert, we all know how that went. Darian Kendrick is the only guy that immediately was like, starting
dude.
corner, that's a dude. He's going to change how we play defense. Tyke Smith, it was hurt for a year and then banged up, getting healthy for a year, and then I balled.
Yeah.
I think people forget he was here 3 seasons.
He was.
He's here for a while.
We did not forget Jamie Newman. He is not a spring transfer portal commit, I don't believe.
Georgia legend.
Yeah. Film Guy Network legend. We did numbers on that Jamie Newman film study. We did numerous.
It still pops up
imagine.
on my timeline.
Oh,
I
I
imagine,
know, dude.
That
thing
was 2020 when there was nothing going on.
They was out here slow
People like, I wonder
meshing.
what
That was
2020, and I was vomiting.
that was still the days you were screen recording a laptop,
You
right?
bet your ass.
His face wasn't even in the screen or
Nope.
nothing.
This mug wasn't even on camera at that time. We can retire the gavel for the night, Curb.
Sweet.
Wheel of topics?
We always got the
Ooh.
wheel of
We got some
boys.
good topics.
Boys, I'm going to tell you, we better. We better.
Easy now.
Dude, we're fine.
Dude, we're pros. We got this. Again, Film Guy merchandise link in the description of this video. If you find yourself to be a certified ball knower, this is the shirt to have.
My eyes are killing.
Your eyes are killing you? Is it the
Allergies.
pollen?
It's the pollen stuff.
Pollen's getting him. He's soft, guys. Pollen's getting him. Let's spin. Ain't nobody too tough for pollen. You know what I mean?
Dude, it gets
Ain't nobody toughing out pollen. Let's see here. Ooh, right off rip, nostalgia tape.
Yeah.
Talk to him. Talk to him.
right,
Give me
I got
one. I'm gonna close eyes over here. How's everybody doing? Y'all having a good day? I hope everybody's having a good day. I had a good day. I didn't work out today because I was too sore, but I've been hitting the kettlebells the last 2 days. Kirby, you
Kettlebells
proud
are
of me?
good.
I've been out here kettlebell training. How about that? A little Joe Rogan special. I've been taking my A1 supplements.
Do you have the ape head?
Wearing my tinfoil hats. Huh?
Do you have the ape head kettlebells that are like $90?
No, I don't know what kind of kettlebell this is. And this is the Amazon kettlebell. I'm too broke to buy the pair, so I just bought the one.
You only need
I
one.
think this one's 35 pounds.
What do you do with
Even though I'm making it look like a toothpick right about now.
What do you do with them?
I do all kinds of swings. I do one-arm rows. I do overhead snatches. I do all kinds of good little kettlebell series with these things right here.
Be careful, dude.
Bear with me.
Drop on the toe.
I clicked on the wrong
I mean,
one.
I'm just waiting on J Will to quit messing
The
around
ads,
over
dude.
here.
The ads
Waiting
are,
on J Will to quit messing around. We do have a full gym in the studio over here. We got it all. We got it all out here in Mom's basement.
I wouldn't call that a full jet.
I mean, we got the walk pad. We got the squat rack. We got a
Let's
bench.
be real.
We got some
HR
dumbbells.
HR department made you put it in, okay?
Yeah, they were like, bro, you're getting a little too big.
You make these guys sit down too much.
Getting a
We
little
gotta
too
start
big.
getting a little activity.
Are we good on the nostalgia
Yes, we
tape now?
are.
Finally. Oh, we got a back right here. Let's see here. Ooh, that's short and choppy. He didn't play running back in college, did he?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
What? Huh.
I honestly thought it would only take one clip.
Fascinating that.
This dude played running back at the University of Georgia.
This dude
Oh,
played running
yeah.
back at the University of Georgia. Quite well, I might add.
That's not DeAndre Swift, is it?
Yeah,
That
it
is, in
is.
fact, DeAndre Swift.
He was thicker in high school than he was in college.
Yeah, he was.
I thought as soon as you said short and choppy that you were going to say, oh, it's DeAndre Swift.
What got me on that first clip, honest to God, this is going to sound weird. I thought it was a white dude.
Oh,
I couldn't tell, but yeah, when I first saw this looked like Cody Brown to me. That's what he's running like. And there's no, DeAndre's a 4.42 guy at the combine. I'm expecting, and a 5-star. I want to see some wham, right? This is just too smooth to see that maybe. That was DeAndre's thing. I feel like people thought he was jogging all the time. He's just too smooth of an athlete. There's not a lot of
he has a
high effort on
a
him.
very specific way he runs.
Yeah, smooth.
Very smooth.
Very smooth.
Looks like he's animated when he's running.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he got out of all this.
There's a dope little spin move in there. See, this is a 4.42 runner that looks like he's jogging.
Oh, he's jogging there.
He's definitely jogging right here. But man, I can't get over how thick he was. I mean, he's thick
He might have
in
a
the
flak
midsection.
jacket on,
Yeah, he
too.
could have a flap jacket on. That's true. Do we get a hurdle in these 6 minutes? I bet we do.
Was hurdling allowed in the?
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
yeah.
That's a good question.
call.
I don't know if hurdling
I mean,
was
like
allowed.
the dead leg is there. Like the
Oh yeah.
pattern.
And just how low his center of gravity is, some of these cutbacks, man, he gets low and maintains speed.
I think he had a much better contact balance than he was given credit for too. Like he was always
Yeah.
kind of known as the choppy, shifty guy that would break your ankles, and he was, but he was also very able to run through arm tackle.
That jump cut right there is filthy. That
Oh
dead
my-
leg right there was nasty.
Let's see, does he break this kid just for the fun of it?
And the one thing I do love about DeAndre, where's the 4.42? I would have been very confused about this coming out. The thing about DeAndre is I never thought he outpaced blockers. I never felt like he was
Impatient.
Yeah, no, a very, very smooth runner, like we said. That's the word I would use to describe DeAndre. It's very smooth. Now, what's weird is you see him in the NFL and he's having problems hitting proper holes.
Yeah.
I always thought his vision was really good in college.
I think it's also he played on some rough offensive line this last season.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I really think he could have had a decent career with the Eagles, but
Oh my God!
when Saquon Barkley becomes when
The short area quickness was always more impressive than the long speed.
Yeah, I mean, like I think if he could have had a spot on the Eagles this year if you don't get Saquon Barkley, which obviously that paid off very well for them. But there he's taking off.
Yeah, I would have been on this board going, I don't know about that top end speed, guys.
I got you.
Where's our
Would not have been a my guy.
where's our wheel of topics? I don't think so. And he wouldn't have classified because he would have been a blue chip guy. He'd been a wife scout.
Oh, that's true.
Based off the ranking. All right, let's spin the wheel a couple more times here. I like the wheel. Let's close the ads. No free ads around here. We ain't even got paid ads tonight. We ain't even worried about none of that.
Ooh,
Injury immunity
This
game.
one's been on the wheel for a while.
Choose a player who does not get injured this season, non-QB. It's KJ Bolden.
Oh,
I like
By
that.
a mile.
really good call.
By a mile.
I thought it was going to
If anybody else gets hurt, you're okay.
I thought you were immediately going to say Colby Young.
I was
No,
gonna
man.
say Nate Frazier.
We could just peel and replace. I'm not saying he's going to be Colby Young, but if Colby Young goes down, we slide Noah Thomas out there, and boom, we got another 6'6" guy with SEC experience. If KJ Bolden goes down, you don't even know who your starter is beside him right now.
True.
What if I think you could
The answer would be Ja'Cory and Zion, but you just wouldn't be as good.
I was gonna say Nate Frazier was on this list.
I was about to say, what about Drew Bobo?
Yeah, that's another big concern. I mean, for me at least, like of all the guys, like Micah doesn't snap, Daniel Calhoun doesn't snap, Michael Unah hasn't snapped.
Juan Gasson just started playing guard.
just started playing guard. Like of all the sixth best linemen, like you got to go down to like 11 or 12th best lineman to find Malachi Tolliver.
Yeah.
It's a massive drop off. I'm with you, and they've even expressed that interest to me about maybe going and getting a young backup center. I mean, it's not that they don't believe in Drew Bobo, which has been a weird topic on social media lately. I know why. It's because his last name's Bobo. You think he sucks, but no, he's a dude.
Well, they think Daddy's a coordinator and he's playing his son.
Yeah, that nepotisms. All right, here we go. Let's go on to our next wheel of topic. Let's see here. Oh, man. This is a game I don't even remember. I was getting shat-faced.
This is very similar to this year's game.
Oh, no, I was here. This is field goal, right?
No, you're thinking of 2014. That was Nick
Is that the
Chubb.
home loss?
That was Nick Chubb's freshman
I'd rather
year.
talk about that one. Let's talk about that one because I was there in person at the 2014 loss at home when they ripped up the hedges.
Yeah.
And I love the dude. He's a great human. I love Mark Richt. It was one of the worst game managements I've ever seen in my life.
Rough.
For everyone remembers the squib kick. The squib kick was awful. Okay, but if you were in the stadium, you don't know about the worst decision that happened. Okay, so they squib kick it. There's a 57-yard field goal from Harrison. I think Harrison Butker, right?
It was Harrison Butker.
All right, so there's a 57-yard field goal getting lined up. The play clock is running. Georgia Tech is out of timeouts. Paul Johnson's on the sideline trying to get everybody onto the field. They run everybody onto the field. There's 10 seconds left on the play clock, and there's no damn field goal holder for Georgia Tech. 10 seconds. They're about to take a delay of game, push a 57-yarder that was made by the skin of your teeth. Okay? A 57-yarder to a 62-yarder because of a 5-yard penalty to do a delay of game. You know who calls a timeout for him?
Mark Richt.
Mark Richt. Because he's trying to ice a kicker on a 57-yard field goal instead of getting a delay of game. Because he's not aware of what's going on. The other sideline is freaking out trying to get a holder onto the field, running on. They call the timeout, save the delay of game for him. Harrison Butker comes on, kicks a nice 57-yard field goal. Game over. Dogs lose.
Yeah.
Very interesting game, too. That was a Nick Chubb. This was at the point where Todd Gurley was out for the season. He had torn his ACL at Auburn. Nick Chubb had a critical red zone fumble there. This was the Damian Swan.
Oh, they took that back for 6, didn't they?
Controversial.
The fumble on the goal line?
Yeah, controversial scoop and score that Damian Swan had where he was held up at the line for like 5 seconds, still came away. I believe Malcolm Mitchell scored the game-leading touchdown in this. Georgia was down like late into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Hudson Mason drove him down the field. Obviously, we know the rest is history through the interception.
That was the final confirmation point for me that fandom is just not in my toolkit. Not that I was there rooting for Georgia to win or lose, but the idea that me and my buddy, both of us had bye weeks that week. We were college football players at the time. And we were sitting there in that stadium watching it, and everyone leaving's bitching about the squib kick, which was a bad decision. But sitting there watching that delay of game be saved because a coach thinks he's icing a kicker, it would have made me irate. It would have made me absolutely irate, and I would have been uncontrollably mad, something that I don't want to ever be for something that I don't have an impact on.
Yeah. Well, to end on a better note, the game that was on the wheel was, again, a situation where Georgia was down 20-0, I believe, at halftime. Came back to tie it, send it into overtime. Georgia won in 2 overtimes.
This was Hudson Mason's first official start. Aaron Murray had torn his ACL the week before. Todd Gurley had like 128 yards in this game, 3 touchdowns. It was another masterclass from Todd Gurley. Jay Will, do you remember the quarterback's name from Georgia Tech for this game?
I think his first name started with like a V or something like that. I don't know.
Vad Lee.
Vad Lee. Yeah.
Lee. This was just the epitome of the 2013 season, where it was so up and down no matter what. I mean, this was a Georgia team that had their hearts broken by Auburn, lost to Florida, or beat Florida, lost to Vanderbilt that season, lost to Clemson early in the year. Just a really up and down season. You had lost your quarterback. There wasn't a lot to play for. So the fact that they came in and had this fight was really good. The last play of the game, I remember, the ball was tipped around like 4 times. Yes. It was like a 4th and 5 to win the game. Just really an underrated Deep South's clean old fashioned hate game that I don't think
you about got flame.
It's a Floridian slip, man. Stuff happens. But no, I think that's honestly an underrated game that does not get talked enough about in that series. And it was one of my favorite ones to watch.
I thought you said that was a Floridian slip, like wearing cut off into a Walmart.
They do that.
Or throwing a laptop out of your dorm room. What's another Floridian slip while we're trying to make jokes?
Wrestling the gator.
Yeah.
Just pick any Florida man headline.
Yeah. Man, I wish we would have planned that out. We could have had like 6 or 7 of those. Had the audience laughing right there real hard.
I think if you go to the well so many times, though, it's just like, all right, guys.
Yeah.
It's enough.
They're trying too hard kind of thing.
Yeah, you can only bang the gavel so many times. Okay.
Of course, it comes from that.
Yeah, from
that
Weed
is
Guy
just
Mike.
So fitting.
From Weed Guy Mike. That's where that comment comes from. If you're listening to us on podcast, first of all, you're doing it wrong. You need to be watching us on live television. But man, you need to be in the chat laughing with us right now because woo.
That is wild.
I have never heard anyone call it the South Mouth. That's crazy.
I've never heard that either.
The Toothless Wonder.
Even if you're watching this on rewatch right now, you're like, what are they laughing about? We're laughing at the chat. That's what we're laughing at. Some players hit the portal today. And if you're on patreon.com/Brooks Austin, again, that's patreon.com/Brooks Austin, you would have been aware of these prior. So you wouldn't have been too caught off guard today when Branson Robinson, Nitro Tuggle, and Marquise Easley hit the portal. If you're asking how long the indefinite suspensions were going to last for Nitro Tuggle and Marquise Easley, till today. They are no longer with the University of Georgia.
Ooh, could that be the loophole where it's like, all right, coach, I'm back from the portal. My suspension's lifted. Could that be how they hold Kirby Smart hostage? Instead of like, listen, coach, I'm not going to cost you a dime to come back. Just lift the suspension, baby. Come on.
Well, what I thought was like, and this is what to me things like this always kind of put things into perspective of me when it comes to like social media and college football fandom. Of Nitro Tuggle enters the spring transfer portal window, something that probably felt like was going to happen eventually given the circumstances. And people are like, this kid just can't make up his mind. He wants to go into the portal. He comes back. Now he's back in the portal. I'm glad he's gone. Guys,
I think
can we put 2 and 2 together here and guess why Nitro Tuggle was in the transfer portal?
I thought we all knew.
Apparently not. No. Apparently people could not put that piece and that piece together to make the puzzle.
If we want to get like really, really deep down and like have this discussion, if that was we all kind of said amongst ourselves when, the suspension came down and all that, it was like, if the portal window comes, you'd have to assume that these guys are going to be on that list, correct?
Yeah.
Why not at that point just get them off the team in general? Because
That's a good point.
I mean, the politics of it are, you can say, like, we had 2 guys do dumbass decisions behind the wheel of a car, and we said, get out of here.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that the reason why not is because I'm sure a conversation went something like this of, if you do stay on this team, it's going to be for a significantly less amount of money, blah, blah, blah. Or like, these are the circumstances. This is what you're going to be required to do if you want to stay here and play for us whenever this suspension, or if the suspension is lifted. This is what you have to meet. And the other option is, or you can hit the portal. Or it could simply be a way of like distancing it enough to where you can't go somewhere else.
I guess the real decision guys on this channel is, let's wait until somebody other than the 4th string guy who thinks he's an X, who's really the 3rd string Z, gets in trouble. I hate to say wait until a starter gets in trouble, but this isn't precedence. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't look to this to think, oh, this is Kirby making a statement on don't get in trouble. I think it's easy to make the statement when, like I said, they were going to have to try to find opportunities for Nitro Tuggle this year in a loaded room. I mean, they got 12 guys. We were talking about Miami earlier. They got 12 scholarship guys in the room. Nitro would have been 13. I'm not saying he would have been ranked 13th. He probably would have been somewhere in the middle of the pack in terms of playing time, but this is a way easier clean break. Also, with a kid in Nitro who was already flirting around with it. Like, he was flirting around with it in December, and they had to convince him to come back. So there's that. With Marquise Easley, I think you could look at this as more of a statement thing. This is a redshirt freshman offensive lineman who is a top 100 player coming out of high school, who they spent resources on trying to get. Like, that wasn't an easy recruitment battle. That was Alabama and I think Missouri and some other bigger schools that were in the mix for Easley coming out of high school. So
at a position they need, by the way. It's not like you have wide receivers galore.
He's kicked into guard. He's already. So I think that was a sign of like, this isn't the guy we thought it was.
Right.
Like, you sign a guy like that, you put resources in it, you expect him to be a mainstay at tackle. He immediately got kicked into guard. That lit off my alarms for maybe this. I mean, let's not fool ourselves. This is my guy coming out of high school. Wasn't Marquise Easley, okay? And it just didn't immediately pan out in terms of this is what we thought it was. And you add on top of that, he gets hurt. So let's hold our, this is what happens. Don't go get in trouble because Georgia's going to send you to the portal for maybe a higher caliber football player.
That's fine. And that was just kind of my question of, if we kind of all knew that once the indefinite suspension came down, their story was likely written at that point. Yeah. Why not just cut ties altogether? Because at that point you can kind of, do the politics of, we do disciplines, and Kirby Smart's talked about it, and they it's not like they're not making efforts to keep this from happening. Yeah. But I do think that you did have somewhat of an opportunity to kind of.
It was a slam dunk.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally had an alley-oop. Mm-hmm. You had 2 guys that you didn't think were going to play meaningful minutes for you this year, go out there and get in trouble, and you were going to send them to the portal anyways. That was an opportunity to, no more of this shit. These guys are gone. You know what I'm saying? But instead, we just quietly send them off into the transfer portal. So I'm with you. Now, listening to you, that was their opportunity to kind of make a public statement.
Sure.
We're done with this bullshit. Mm-hmm. And everybody would have probably hopped on board and be like, look at Kirby, he's finally trying to do something.
Yeah.
Instead of just waving them off into the spring portal window.
I mean, that said, the end pretty much is the same result. They're not on the team anymore. They probably weren't going to play this year at all. So
you're right, though. From a guy who thinks about everything, I think he missed an opportunity there.
Question: did either one of them play Saturday?
No, they're
indefinitely suspended.
Yeah, they were shit this spring.
Duh.
Which, to your point, even more. Like, you knew this was going to happen.
Yeah,
you knew they were gone. Mm-hmm. So why not just make the public grandiose gesture of we're done? Because you tried to do that with David Daniel. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was in front of SEC microphones at SEC Media Days saying, when asked, what are y'all doing? And his answer was, we're the only school, to my knowledge, that's actually removed a player for some of this stuff. And that was the player he was talking about. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting.
But, I mean, maybe it is a possibility of the team knew that those guys were gone. Yeah. It just wasn't made public yet.
We don't need to make it ugly.
And at the end of the day, like, if the guys are the ones that know about it, then that's really all that truly matters.
Yeah.
But if you want a public eye and you want people to view you in a better way, then yeah, you make it public. But.
All right, another player that hit the portal today, Branson Robinson. It's an unfortunate timeline for Branson, to be honest with you. Like freshman year, comes in, highly touted, 4-star recruit. Goes for 12 rushes for 98 yards. I think first freshman to go over 95 yards since DeAndre Swift.
First true freshman at the University of Georgia in their first 10-plus carry game as a true freshman to go for over 95 yards since Sony Michel in 2014.
As one of those ESPN polls. I'm glad you remembered that one, though.
I recited it.
That was a big.
That was such a deep poll.
tweet.
How many game logs were you pulling through for that?
Quite a few. Because there were so many great backs from that time, that period of time to what the last time it was.
And not random backs, but backs during that time period of 14 to 22, like Brian Herring and like Kendall Milton, who you could argue were better as freshmen than they were as juniors and as seniors. Like, it was a very weird time. So good pull.
Thank you.
Good pull on that one.
Yeah, I always hate these types of stories of so promising. Like, thought for sure you had hit another home run at the running back position, especially considering of how he ended the 2022 season, of having multiple touchdowns in the national title game. Now I know it was against TCU, all that stuff, to then injury.
Hell, even how, like, he obviously, I think it was patella tendon 2023, missed the entire year, and then against Mississippi State this year, bangs it up again against Mississippi State and has an MCL surgery.
Yeah.
Even last year, being in person on the field, like he looked like he was going to get back.
You don't win that Kentucky game without him.
Nope. Yeah.
Like he had I think people forget the role he played in that Kentucky game, that goal line.
And touchdown. I remember too, like us watching film after the Mississippi State game, and we were sitting here saying like, man, it felt like this was the first game this season where it felt like Branson was starting to feel himself. Like it looked like he was looking how he was as a freshman, and he gets pulled out from underneath of him again.
I worry too because, and I hate to do this, but the reality is like, what is the market like for a guy who has kind of been in and out of the injury tent for the better part of 2 years?
Yeah.
Like where is like the ideal landing spot for a guy like that?
Oh, I think he's at Ole Miss tomorrow.
He can't.
Oh yeah, you're right. SEC
Big
transfer.
10. Go somewhere in the Big Ten.
I mean, he's from the state of Mississippi. That's why I thought that.
No, it would make perfect sense.
They're in need. I think they need some backs.
Yeah, go to a Big Ten school that could get you some good carries.
Bro, you would eat at Iowa, Branson. Go to Iowa. That's all they have.
Ooh.
All they have is 230-pound backs that you don't want to tackle.
Go to Arizona State.
Oh, yeah.
Be a new Scatabo.
Ooh.
I like this.
Imagine being a Georgia fan and cheering on.
Take that workload.
That's fair.
You want me to do what?
35 touches.
How many? Coach, there's 12 people in the box. What? Yeah. Branson, they won't play 11. Not those motherfuckers.
It is funny how too, like Chad's doing of like Syracuse has now become this school.
I mean, it could be though. Honestly, like
it makes sense. I mean, why, if you're Fran Brown, why wouldn't you do that? Especially knowing, like, for now at least, because these are kids that you have worked with and that you know that you were there at the same time
you got
as
in-person evals on.
Yeah, you got relationships with maybe some of them, so it makes perfect sense right now why he would be doing that.
I would love to see him go to Syracuse.
Absolutely. Hey, I do want to address something in the chat. My man Alex, I told who did I tell about this? When me and Nas were on the sideline and someone was hollering at me about taking a video. Did I tell you about this?
I think it was me, yeah.
Okay, so my man Alex, I don't know what his YouTube name is, but I don't know if Alex was in attendance at the G-Day game on Saturday. His name's top_beast mode 7. And so Alex's girlfriend, I'm assuming who this is, starts yelling at me on the sideline. Hey, she's got her phone up. And I'm standing next to Nas Stackhouse. So I just assumed she's clearly talking to Nas Stackhouse. And so Nas goes over there, says hello to the phone, and Nas comes back and taps her on the shoulder and goes, hey, she wanted you to go over there. What are y'all looking at?
We got ghost spins going on over there.
Oh, love a good ghost spin. Fly landed on the board for sure. But anyways, she's like waving me down to come over there. And I'm like, look, here's the rule. From now on, guys, if your significant other sees me standing next to a Georgia football player,
I'm not there. It's the Georgia football player
Especially
that you should care about.
if he comes over to talk to you.
Yeah.
Just act like, I was wanting you the whole time, Nas.
Yeah.
Like,
Valid.
I wasn't there. That's what I'm saying. I was not there.
and thank God it was Nas, someone that understands what we do here and likes us, because if it was some other player, like, who do you want to talk to?
What the fuck is up with these Georgia fans? That's probably what I've been thinking about. Guys, my spring tour starts next week.
Oh.
Where you going?
Yeah, I was about to tell you the must-watch practices. These are the schools that I have to watch practice. Gainesville, they've got 4 or 5 guys on this list that I'm paying attention to. Most notably, obviously, Xavier Griffin. Kareem Huey, the 2027 quarterback, has a lot of SEC interest as well. I have to go see Benedictine practice down there at Military Academy in Savannah. Reason being, the number 1 player in 2027 just moved over there, LaDainian Guyton. So going to have to go watch him play and practice. I got to go to Kell High School, a program that I'm very, very well acquainted to. I've got 5 guys on this list from Kell High School. A lot of really, really high-ranking players. Probably their best player is Braden Roos, coach's son over there, plays linebacker. He's really, really big. He's like 6'4". Interested to see these guys this spring as well out there at Kell High School. Another school I got to go see, North Cobb. North Cobb, a school that always producing really, really good football players. I think the biggest name out there is Brandon Anderson, the former Tennessee offensive line commit. Interested to see how his body's progressed this spring. Obviously, got to stop at Buford. That's an obvious one. Douglas County. Douglas County is a constant for me this time of the year. I mean, they're loaded down. Aaron Gregory, my boy Jordan Carter, Joshua Sam Appel, a 6'8" offensive tackle.
Yeah, I was about to say, all those dudes are seniors now. That team's probably going to eat this year.
Yeah, man. And they got a new quarterback in there as well. So, yeah, excited to see Douglas County. Houston County. Now, normally, I ain't going to lie to you, when I go down to Warner Robins, I kind of camp out at Warner Robins. You know, I mean, Isaiah Gibson, the safety that they took out of there, Rashawn Dinkins. Like, when I go down to Warner Robins, I'm going to Warner Robins. When I go to Warner Robins this year, I'm going to hang out at Houston County. They got a bunch of dudes. The safety down there is getting a lot of SEC looks, most notably from Georgia as well. They got an offensive tackle. I'm curious to see how he's developed as a football player. Last time I was down there, he's more of a basketball guy. Obviously, got to make a stop at Valdosta this year as well. Curious to see what Prince Gene looks like down there, the wide receiver. Last time I was down there, he was kind of really heavily interested in Alabama, but that was during the Nick Saban era, to be honest. That's how long it's been since I've talked to Prince Gene. Another school I have to watch practice, Brooks County. Anybody know where Brooks County's at?
You and I went over.
Any guesses? That's in Macon, boys.
Yeah.
That's in Macon. So we got a lot of stops in Macon this year. George Lamons is a guy I got to go see. George Lamont's a dude. George Lamont's damn near won a state championship this year with a cast on his left foot. I'm interested to see what he's got going on. And then a player that I have to watch that I'm not going to get a chance to watch this spring. My man, David Jacobs Jr. Edge rusher out of Blessed Trinity. Blessed Trinity doesn't do spring practice, though.
Shout out BT.
So, going to have to maybe go to a pro day of some sorts for those guys.
Why don't they?
Too many kids playing other sports.
They're not a very big.
No, I knew they were a big school. Just was curious.
They're a counter system school. That's why they're in 3A, because they got too many kids outside of the city that go to the school. They get counted as 2.
Gotcha.
I think it's 2. Is it 1.5 or 2?
1.5.
1.5. So there's that.
Know of any scrimmages you're going to yet?
Oh my God, dude! How about again Dale McGee? I love that a Georgia native got that Georgia State job, because have you seen what Dale's doing?
No, what's he doing?
Dale's holding jamborees at Georgia State. Ooh. So I think it's the 15th. On the 15th, North Gwinnett, Gainesville, and Thomas County Central are playing a 3-way scrimmage at Georgia State.
Dang.
That bitch is going to have 400 college football coaches at it. I ain't even going to be watching the game. I'm going to be over there schmoozing. Hey, you need a DPP? You need a DPP? I got a show that I'm trying to leave. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say
I wouldn't do that to you boys. I wouldn't do that to you.
I was about to say, maybe that's something I'd like to go to, but I don't know if I want to go to that anymore.
You don't want to watch me smooze?
J-Will, come with me. I currently work with this guy, and I don't want to anymore. What can you do for me, coach?
You guys want to stick me in a room somewhere to watch 3,000 huddle clips a year? I'm down. What you got for me? 55K and some bennies? I'm good. Y'all good?
We got 5 minutes. We can always go back to the wheel.
Spin the wheel one more time. It landed on Would You Rather.
I'll spin the shit up out that wheel.
It landed on a Would You
Just
Rather.
have him
Like,
close, and you can do it one more time. Part of the optic is the spinning of the wheel.
I think I might have to spend like 3 days in Macon this spring.
Oh, we were.
Oh, would you rather? Let's do a would you rather.
Yeah,
What do you got for me?
now?
What do you got for
All
me?
right. Would you rather get one more season of peak Lee Corso? Like, this is him at his best.
In his prime.
Or you can bring back any college football player of your choice for one season.
I thought you were going to tell me any college football media segment, because you can keep Lee Corso as long as I get Todd's Taste of the Town back on ESPN for college football games.
That was a good one.
I thought Todd's Taste of the Town was the best college football segment of all time, hands down. And I've told Todd Blackers this to his face. Said the biggest catastrophic mistake we've seen in football television as of late is the removal of Todd's Taste of the Town. Now, what was your actual question?
Lee Corso or any one season of any college football player you can pick. You bring him back and you drop him into this season.
With the team they played?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, I would love to see give me Cam Newton a year again. I would watch Cam Newton play college football any year again.
I love
on
that.
any team.
I don't know if Cam Newton would do what he did.
Nowadays, you don't think so?
I know. Given the circumstances with this team, give me Jadeveon Clowney on South Carolina.
Oh, next to Dylan Stewart on the other side?
Yeah.
That'd be kind
you
of
got
freaky.
Norris as the headliner at quarterback.
That'd be kind of freaky.
That's fun. That's fun.
Give me
what I'll
Peyton Manthing, quarterback, Tennessee.
Dude, imagine you go like Nico gone off into the wind and they drop like, hey, by the way, we've got 1997
We got this
Peyton Manning.
big old forehead coming in.
The fan of me would like to say, let me see Herschel Walker.
Omaha!
You knew it.
I knew it.
Anytime he can do a cadence real quick.
He loves doing cadences. He's never once played quarterback.
If we
He loves cadence.
if we ever were able to get John Gruden on the show with him in here, I would just say, I wouldn't even have a microphone. I would just sit here and
John
watch
Gruden
what would
can have
happen.
my microphone.
I would just watch that unfold.
What did you say you played?
You freaking love ball, don't you, man? Yeah, I do, coach. Oh,
I love a little D2 action, man.
I can tell, man. Oh, just two meth heads in here going,